In the years following the Second World War, the city of Elizabeth was specifically designed to cater for the growing influx of immigrants from Europe. Australian rules football was foreign to these new Australians, to say the least. So for a team from Elizabeth to enter the SANFL was a bold proposal, but in 1959 the Central District Football Club began playing in the reserves competition. In 1964 they joined the league proper and failed to win a single match. 999 games later, and with 7 premierships under their belt, the Bulldogs have become the powerhouse of the SANFL. Today we celebrate their 1000th league match in the SANFL, and the competition couldn't get any better, as the Bulldogs come up against their nemesis from the Bay, adversaries in the 2008 Premiership decider, and the team responsible for Central's biggest ever loss. From the Glenelg Oval, round 17 is a top-of-the-table battle between two greats of the SANFL as Glenelg hosts Central District.
And what a magnificent afternoon it is here at the Bay this afternoon for the clash between the top two sides in the competition. Glenelg and Central District, a significant afternoon, as we said, for the Bulldogs in game number 1000 in league competition. And certainly, Rob Pyman, they didn't start that well in league football, but I tell you what, they're finishing pretty well.
They certainly are. Well, if you have a look in 1964, they didn't win a game in the first 20 games, but the last decade has been unbelievable, and they've got a winning percentage of 79%, which is quite unremarkable. Or remarkable, I should say.
Yes, well, extraordinary too that when we turned over the century and we came into season 2000, they actually trailed in terms of the number of games they'd won versus the number of games they've lost. But it's been incredible that since the 2000 season started, they've turned that around. They were 352 wins and 426 losses, and now they've turned it around very much in the positive. 522 wins, 471 losses and 6 draws. An extraordinary feat, really.
It is, and if you have a look at the last decade in particular and the amount of premierships that they have won, which has been 7, it is unbelievable, and they've done a fantastic job considering the own issues that they would have had in the early years just due to the distance and all of the problems associated in the 60s, travelling a good hour to the satellite town of Elizabeth.
That's right. It's hard to remember that, of course, in the early 60s, it was very much a satellite town. There would have been nothing too much on the way to Elizabeth except the road to Elizabeth. And one man who knows that very well is the CEO of the Bulldogs, and he's been involved pretty much from 14 years of age. Chris Grant, thanks for joining us. And Chris, what was it like when you first walked into Elizabeth at age 14?
Oh, back in those days, Neil, the footy club used to run junior grades into the Central District Junior Footy League. So when my parents moved to Elizabeth, I played under 14s for Central Districts back then.
And tell me, your involvement started in terms of administration proper in the mid-70s. It must have been tough yards then too.
Oh, look, it wasn't easy, but I think you have to realise in those early years the club had to get players from all over the place, and a lot of them were from other league clubs, so it was fairly difficult. And the other difficulty was trying to convince supporters to jump off their traditional side that they'd supported for so long and jump on board with us.
Hey Chris, Robert Pyman here, you're the longest serving CEO. In your time in administration at the club, there's obviously been a lot of highlights and lowlights.
Yeah, they have, Robert. A lot of people say that it was tough for a long time. I don't quite see it that way, because I think we brought a lot of colour to the game. I think we brought a new person to support footy in the British migrant. So it was fairly colourful along the trip. We were able to make finals, but we couldn't quite win them.
You probably get asked this a lot, Chris, but who's the best recruit that you've ever recruited to the club, and who's the best local player that you've seen play?
Well, from recruit-wise, I think if you talk a twosome, you have to say Chris and James Gowns, but I think John Duckworth was a fairly special recruit. And from the local point of view, I think you have to say John Platten, without doubt.
And Chris, look, we talked about your administrative skills, and of course you've been there for a long time, but the success that you've enjoyed in this decade, has it sort of pushed into the past, so far into the past that you can't remember how tough it was in those early days?
Well, I suppose it does to a degree, but again, as I said, I didn't think it was as tough as everybody saw it. We just couldn't win finals. But it's been a lot of fun, and I think we've been a positive for SANFL footy.
Well, certainly you know how to win finals now, and good luck this afternoon, and who knows, you might be celebrating another premiership this season.
Well, as they say, 1 week at a time.
Thanks to Chris Grant there, and gee, it is a remarkable story when you think about it. A club that is celebrating its 50th year this year, but 45 years in league competition, 1,000 games.
Yeah, it's quite unbelievable, and it's good to see the CEOs are even pushing out the cliches.
And as we look there at the history between the two clubs, and if we look back into that past, although Centrals have won their past 4 against Glenelg, certainly the Tigers early on had a lot of success over the Bulldogs in their last final, of course, last year's grand final, a 36-point win for Centrals, comfortable over the Bays. They were certainly disappointing when they met on Anzac Day in a rematch of the grand finalists as well.
Well, remember round 5, the rematch, the grand final rematch, that Central smashed Glenelg by 84 points.
Well, if we go back even further than that to 1975, you talk about the history between these two clubs. At this ground in 1975, Glenelg absolutely smashed Central District. We've got some great vision here. John McFarlane, the key. We'll see a couple of highlights of this. And John McFarlane, the Tigers' centreman, and they still played centreman in those days. You'll see here number 3. Eventually the ball will get to him for a shot to kick 50 goals. That's an extraordinary number of goals, but they really did hammer out Centrals that afternoon.
They did. You can see the massive crowd there, and 238 points. If my maths is correct, that's just under 40 goals. To win by just under 40 goals is quite unbelievable, and you can see the streamers and the crowd. The Bay certainly packed, and I reckon if you're a Bay fan that day, you would have witnessed something quite spectacular.
This is the closing seconds of the match. McFarlane with a shot to be goal number 50, and he hit the post. And Glenelg, in the end, kicking a whopping 49 goals, 23, 317 to Centrals. Look, that's not a poor score. That's not the lowest of all time, 11-13-79, but it was the highest score of all time in terms of margin, 238 points. It was very comfortable. John McFarlane, we mentioned there, he kicked the ball that hit the post in the closing seconds, which would have been goal number 50. Fast forward 30 years to 2005, and there was a reunion of the players involved that afternoon. Here he goes and tries to kick goal number 50, and you could not do that again if you tried. He hits the post 30 years on.
Just uncanny. Unbelievable, isn't it? And no one should ask him to ever have a shot again, because I reckon that'll go down in history just like the first kick.
Absolutely. I'm not sure that John McFarlane could still kick that far right now. It's another few years have gone by. Don't worry about that. Let's have a look at the premiership table this afternoon. I don't think we're going to see that sort of margin of 238 points this afternoon. Glenelg and Centrals are both very, very good squads, and Glenelg sitting just on top at the moment, ahead of Central District by that 1 game, with Sturt North and the Eagles making up the 5. If we look through the goal kickers now, we'll see that Brad Chambers, well, I put money on him being, for the 3rd time in a row, the leading goal kicker in the competition, no doubt about that.
No doubt, and he certainly is consistent. We'll see another couple of good goal kickers play today. Toddy Grimer has had a very consistent year this year, obviously nowhere near in the calibre of Chambers, kicking 62 goals, but keep your eye on Toddy Grimer today, 28 goals for him.
Let's look through the fixtures this weekend. Norwood taking on the Panthers. In round 3, it was an 87-point win for the Redlegs, and in round 11, just 1 point. And I think that says something about the Redlegs season and the way it's gone. Sturt against Port Adelaide, the traditional rivals at the Unley Oval. Big crowd there this afternoon. And the Eagles against North Adelaide. That's the other really interesting contest this afternoon, because the Eagles and North are sitting 4th and 5th on the ladder. The Eagles, though, have won 11 of the past 13 games at Woodville against North.
Well, a very, very strong team, the Eagles, and Ronnie Fuller's done a fantastic job over a long period of time. They're going through a rebuilding stage, the Eagles, but having said that, I still think they'll play finals this year.
Well, we know that Glenelg and Centrals will play finals this year, and maybe a look at the future now as Chris Kendall joins us on the boundary this afternoon. And Chris, an important change for Glenelg.
Yeah, certainly is, Neil. Brett Backwell didn't come up, unfortunately, for Tiger fans, so Chris Kane gets his chance to have a crack at the Bulldogs today. Now, we know that Glenelg are in the middle of a 9-game winning streak, but of course the last time they lost was to Centrals back on Anzac Day by 85 points. We had a bit of a chat to Mark Micken to see if that was a major motivating factor for the boys this week.
We were really poor. I thought our contest was poor in that game, and we realised that, and we've certainly adjusted the way we played since then. But to do it against this opposition is important.
Of course, you've got Justin McConnell coming back in. He's had a pretty good apprenticeship in the reserves. You've made sure to keep the hunger there for him. Is that something for him that he's really pumped for today?
Oh, I think so. I think he's been just really keen to play senior footy again, and his form in the reserves has certainly warranted his selection. He's been excellent, you know, playing a number of different roles too. So, you know, and he's a very capable player, and you know, he's put some really consistent form together.
We have a look at the Glenelg lineup. In the forward line in particular, keep your eye on Todd Grimer and also Rory Kirkby, centre half forward and full forward. Chris Hall will also play a major part in that forward line. They are the three that will need to kick goals if Glenelg are to win. Obviously, they don't have Brett Backwell, who is out. Hinge broke his ankle last week. Two other players that can kick goals for him. In the midfield, the Cranston matchup on Mackenzie will be interesting, and also the block matchup on the two Gowans boys should be an exciting matchup in the midfield.
And Chris, Central's named, of course, 22 and one to drop out. So who's that player?
Yeah, Kyle Jenner was the unlucky one this week, had a run in the reserves. Now, we saw last week that Central's got over the line against the Eagles, but they did take their time in doing so. A lot of that was due to poor conversion in front of the big sticks. So we asked Roy Laird if that was a major focus for them at training this week.
Look, it's been a bit of a repeat occurrence throughout the course here. We've sort of kicked ourselves out of games at times, so certainly an area we're looking to address, as well as consistency.
I suppose one area too also that Glenelg does have is the pace side of things. Is that something that you're also going to be looking at to try and monitor today?
Oh, look, we think we've got a fair share of blokes who can carry the footy well, so certainly mindful of Glenelg. They've got some dangerous players when they get out. They are dangerous, so defensive side of our game's got to be good.
Huge in for you also, Ian Callanan. That's going to be a big one.
Yeah, look, he's had a few weeks off, so he'll play mainly forward on the day, but certainly quality for touches.
We have a look at the Central's lineup. Sibonella, Hayes, Thomas and Cochrane all play in the defensive area. They get an enormous amount of run from their back half Centrals. That'll be an interesting matchup if we have a look at Sibonella and Grimer, and then Hayes and Kirkby. In the midfield, I've already made mention about the Gowans block matchup. Keep your eye on Slade and Fisher, two players that can accumulate the ball a fair bit. If Shell lines up at full forward, well, he'll be a handful. So it'll be interesting to see what Roy Laird does with Shell.
Absolutely. We go down now to ground level, get the toss of the coin. Paul Thomas on the left, the Central's captain. On the right, Ben Mules is the captain of the Bays. And Paul Thomas winning the toss, kicking to right of the screen to the southern end of the ground. And Chris, in terms of the weather, what does that mean?
It is absolutely glorious down here. Fine, sunny, 17 degrees. If anything, it's blowing slightly towards the right of screen, so that will probably favour that side of the game all day. Not forgetting also, boys, today, special occasion, 400 games for Richard Williams of SANFL umpiring. Going to have a chat to him at half-time, but that's a major achievement for one of the most loved men in white.
And actually, I can tell you, Richard Williams actually was asked, which game do you want this weekend? And he said, I want to do Glenelg, who he hasn't apparently done this season, and Central District. I'm not sure that the Bays fans are really happy to see Richard Williams down here.
Look, he's been a fantastic umpire. He's been around for a long period of time, and love him or hate him, you need him out there. So good on you, Richard.
Absolutely, and his good mate Tim Pfeiffer umpiring his 400th game just the other week. And so two very, very experienced umpires walking around in SANFL football. Let's turn to the game this afternoon. Give us a winner.
Well, it'll be interesting to see who's improved the most from last year in terms of the grand final. Glenelg started the season quite slow, but they've hit their straps over the last 9 weeks. And Central's, on the other hand, they're an interesting team at the moment, because they've sort of ebbed and flowed a little bit. They haven't been as dominant as they have been previously, but I reckon on a big stage like that, I'll go with the true home performer in terms of Centrals. They know how to win on big occasions.
Okay, let's look at the methods of both sides. I found this really interesting. They are number 1 Central for efficiency and number 2 Glenelg for efficiency. Sorry, other way around. Glenelg number 1 for efficiency, Glenelg Central's number 2. Yet Glenelg have less kicks than handballs. They go about it far differently to the Centrals lineup.
They certainly do, and if you have a look at the way Centrals use the ball, they get a lot of run out of their back half. The ball will come in one side of the defensive 50 and it nearly always goes out the other side. So it'll be interesting to see how they go on a small ground.
Well, we're just about set for a start this afternoon here at the Bay. Game number 1000 for the Central District Football Club and League Company. Here's Michael Maney to kick it off.
Looking forward to this one, Neil. It'll be a real beauty, I think. Umpires Williams, Philp and Tony Day officiating, and it is top versus second. And somehow we associate Centrals as being top, but they're not. The Bays out in front. Ball goes forward. Callanan. O'Sullivan inside 50. Mills can't get there. Shuffles it over the line, and it'll be thrown in. First goal pretty important, just to stamp a mark on the game. Here's Mills with the job this week against Daniel Shell, who booted 6-5 last week, and they're going to do the ruck in their forward 50. Over the top, Cranston denied them. Panozzo robbed of the footy. O'Sullivan taken to ground by block. Was it too high? I think it is. I think O'Sullivan's going to get a free kick here, and looked a little soft from up here, but the umpire in Tony Day said that's a free to Chad O'Sullivan.
I think in any big game, the umpires are always keen to actually blow the whistle pretty early to make sure that they stamp their authority on the game.
O'Sullivan will kick from 40 metres out directly in front. Goal umpire does a bit of work to his right, and he's just hooked it to the left. Let's go down to Chris. Who's on the bench for the Bays, Chris?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Richard O'Grady, Justin McConnell after his sojourn in the reserves, and Chris Kane starting on the pine for the Tigers.
Well, Panozzo with a quick kick to himself and gains about 20 metres. Kicks to the far side of the ground. Numbers in the middle of the pack. Kirk was the leaper for Glenelg. Ball just came out. I think it was Chris Gowans, or James Gowans it was. Slipped the hand pass out once. Got the back, as it turned out, of Giles, and then eventually out of bounds. Wasn't Giles, in fact, it was Griffin. Giles is not playing today because John O'Griffin's back from the Adelaide Football Club. Now he's involved in this contest. Neither player getting a good tap down. Stoppages, as Rob Pyman said, going to be all important this afternoon.
Both sides don't mind stoppages. Expect to see a few of them today, particularly at the Bay. Small oval. Centrals will play a tough, hard, aggressive style of football, and Glenelg, well, they're not too bothered about that. They're a workhorse team. They don't mind the hard, grunty work in the packs, get the ball out and then move it forward from there.
Murphy's got it at half-back for the Bays. Been in good form this year, Byron Murphy. Kicks to a pack, over the back, Laurie. Dutchke couldn't take the footy with him. Fisher was in there. Ball's foxed out. This is Ben Kane. Block. Another pack developing. Chris Gowans. Not far away, James. Thomas. And O'Sullivan just got rid of it very, very quickly. And it will be a ball up. Umpire Richard Williams. And as Chris Kendall said, one of the most popular umpires in the competition. I'll tell you one thing about Richard Williams. He's not frightened to make a decision. And he really backs himself. And another stoppage here. So I reckon we're up to about 4 or 5 stoppages so far, and we're just 3 minutes in.
Interesting matchup. We made mention it at the start of the game. The two ruckmen will play an instrumental role in giving first use of the ball. I'm talking about Cranston and McKenzie.
Tigers with a long ball to half forward. Oh, Hayes looked like he threw that, got away with it. Now Haddon, though, can clear it to Sibonella. They got some run on this side of the ground. Support with Griffin. Griffin can run. Nobody able to shut him down forward. Grimer almost got to him. Not a bad kick. Shell dropped what he should have taken. Knocked it away then, and even worse, he gave it up, but then a tackle was very good, and Adlington will have to surrender it to Daniel Shell, who quickly tried to square it up. Bays were awake to that. They were always trying to centre the ball. Glenelg, and that time block was hammered by Callanan. The free kick play on advantage. Kirk goes wide. Kirk B. Very good. Quickly off Kane. This is Ben Kane. Through the middle, Fisher. Prolific ball winner. His kick was awful. High and not very long. And Button waited for the bounce, and it was awkward. Now Willoughby. Willoughby's hand pass surrounded by dogs, and O'Sullivan goes in, dragged to ground. We get a ball up on centre wing, and as we expected, not a lot of room out there to manoeuvre the ball around.
Certainly isn't. Daniel Shell took that mark. We just go back a couple of passages of play. Took it just outside 50. Centrals have the wind. Probably would have been best going back and having a shot.
Block kicks long, out on a lead. He's found his man as well. And that's good play, Lucas Block, and has found Plant, who is right on the paint of 50. Brother of James, who plays for Sturt.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if he could get the distance. He has got a slight breeze pushing into his face. He'll kick the ball just on 50.
Big wind-up. Good-looking kick. Just working away at the last moment. It's a behind. So that ball really working viciously left to right.
Well, you can see the wind is having a factor already. Shell didn't have the confidence to go back and have a shot. He was worried about the cross breeze, and you can see there, young Robert Plant, well, the ball moved left and right, kicking directly into the face of the breeze.
So 5 minutes in and just a point apiece. Centrals in their defensive 50, just methodically working away. Hayes should take this mark. He can go if he wants to. Got a hand pass option on wide. Laurie's a long left foot kick. That was only a 6-iron, just dropped it in short. Nicely done by Adlington, falling across for the Bays in defence. Kane can spread it wide again to Panozzo. Panozzo's got Mills running for him. Opts to instead go down the line. Kirkby the lead up. He's a left footer, swings on the left foot straight away. Panozzo. High and long, Button the target. Off his hands, it comes to Thomas for Centrals. Thomas was tackled and then off the ground. Grimer, no luck with the bounce. In fact, it only just made it over the behind line in the end.
Well, you can see the ball use from both teams. It's like circle work at the moment. It goes in one forward 50 on one flank and comes out the other side. Both teams not keen on actually taking the ball up the wing directly where it came from.
25-metre penalty against Button on Richie Cochran. An afternoon at the netball, I should say the football. Goodness me, I mean, you can't touch a player these days. Cochran in short, Spurs got to go, and he does. Wants to play on, then ran himself into a bit of trouble, then found Dutchke. Slade, he's tackled. How did he get rid of it? Umpire said fair enough. Ball to ground. Another ball up. I think these little ticky touch where players just touch each other and umpires want to give 25. It's just
Particularly on a small ground like this, if umpires are going to start paying those sort of free kicks early, we're in for a day where the umpires will be continually blowing the whistle.
Let's have a look at the Centrals bench down there, Christopher.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Trent Goodrum, big buckets, McKenzie starting on the bench, and Eddie Sainsbury. That's an interesting one. Tell you one thing too, boys. This crowd at ground level is really starting to build.
It's good to see, and let's hope there's plenty get in here. Not too many worries about starting on the bench these days with rotation. Mules can't take the mark. Then he's tackled. The tackling's been a feature for both teams so far. It's locked up underneath, and another ball up. 7.5 gone. It's a 1-point lead to the home side, Glenelg.
The bounce inside Central's forward 50. Cleared away nicely by the Bays, working hard. Murphy down to block at half back, just taking his time. Kirkby provided the lead up and he ignored it, then dropped it in short for Murphy. Cranston available inside. He's going to have to ignore that. And just taking his time as Glenelg really struggled to go forward this time. Long kick, Button at the front of the pack took a nice mark. Well, Griffin was flying, but there was no punch there anywhere. And Button didn't back off enough. Laurie stole it away after smothering it. Just ran it down the line towards O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan goes back to James Gowans. The vision was magnificent. The execution not quite there. And now the Bays have got a chance to attack through the centre square. Willoughby feeds it out to Cranston. Was aware he had a player on him and so went to Hall. And Hall's kick for Grimer was excellent. Just couldn't pull it in. Sibonala comes, Sibonala turns, Sibonala gets away with it, and now Thomas down the line, and for the first time we've got action on this side of the ground. Out of bounds.
You can see two teammates there working, talking about Kirkby and Hall. Hall grabbed the ball in the centre. Kirkby was leading in the other direction, saw that it was Hall, a left footer. The execution was almost there. Grimer probably should have dived for the ball.
I wonder if James and Chris Gowans might have said to him, look, if you were just a little bit younger, you might have got there. Is Allen, can remember those comments from Todd Grimer last year to say, I think the boys at Centrals are a little bit long in the tooth. And they took umbrage to that as Slade takes umbrage with Panozzo. And then Panozzo wins a free kick, much to the roar of the crowd. There's Allen going into the fence and Callanan doing the business there, getting the crowd riled up.
Testing that reconstructed shoulder, Michael.
Yes. Anything we can do to get an advantage. Down, Button. Flicked it away, Plant. He kicked the first score for the Bays. Fisher got a call from Adlington. They're backpedaling here, the Bays. They've got a man loose in the middle. Panozzo delivers to Kirk. He can't take the mark. Well done by the defensive half of Centrals. Taken by Westhoff M. And that's a lovely kick. The handball to Callanan. He doesn't miss. And he kicks the goal.
Well, you can put that goal down to Scott Dutchke. Dutchke did all the work in the centre of the ground. He's just pulling himself up off the ground now. Got winded. Took the ball out of the hands there of Kirk. You can see Kirk would be a good 1.5 foot taller than him, but he did enough to get his fist in there. Then the ball went forward. Gowans have no hesitation in giving the ball to Ian Callanan. Hasn't been as prolific this year as what he has been previously. He's had a lot of hamstring issues in the last 12 to 18 months, but he is a dynamite goal scorer and he's fantastic in front of goal.
Well, Tim, I think Daniel Kirk had a fair case for saying that his arms were slapped as he tried to take that mark in the centre of the ground.
Tend to get away with a bit more in the SANFL than you do the AFL.
You tend to get away with a bit later in the season too. I think the umpires take a more laxed view of some of the free kicks that they're quick on early in the season. Ball hasn't gone all that far, as you see. Slightly onto this side of the ground. Great work by Allen in there tight to block, and he bombs it along towards that forward 50. Kirkby, good fly. Coming in at his feet was Willoughby, but Laurie took it away from him nicely to Slade, and then Sibanawa. He can go down the line and does so nicely. Sainsbury inside 50 with the kick, beautiful to Williams. He started across half forward, Williams, and they tried unselfishly to feed it on, and this time they got caught out. Hall's in trouble, Haddon's got him, and crunch goes Dutchke as well.
I don't mind the fact that Centrals are playing on and giving the ball off. That shows their attitude of taking on the opposition, but when you're straight in front, 45 out and the breeze is at your back, there might be a time to go back and just slot the goal.
Just looked like today they're trying to maybe measure the kicks from inside 25 because of the tricky wind. So, but it came unstuck on that at that particular point of time. Ian Callanan kicked one where Gowans laid it off to him just a moment ago. A ball up. Cranston and McKenzie both got a piece of it. Willoughby's handball smothered by James Gowans. He'll win a free kick for number 28. And they don't get too many of them. That's why they carry on so much. Taken by O'Hara. O'Hara with a long punch. Getting back is Sainsbury. Oh, touched on the line by Mules. Sainsbury was about to just snavel that one, but Mules came late and did so well.
Sainsbury's in two minds then. Not sure if he should jump for the ball or let the ball go through. Richard Williams has called back the kick in.
Over the line.
Pinozzo put his foot over the line. Richard Williams in his 400th game. Right on the ball there.
Well, if you're an umpire's advisor, you'd be saying he made the tough decision. If you're a fan of football, you'd probably say, I'll just let it go. Pinozzo says, right, I'm going to have another go at this now. Just with the rush behind.
That rule hasn't changed in the SANFL, so I'll use it to my advantage.
Absolutely. Although he was under pressure, and the way that the AFL interprets now, they would say, no, that wasn't a deliberate rush behind.
They've taken the foot off the pedal, haven't they?
Yep. Again, it's another one of those rules late in the season that seems to change.
Mills from half back. Block. Tackle comes from Thomas. It's a good one. And it'll be a ball up. Bit of niggle there. Todd Grimer always there with a bit of a push and a shove.
You don't mind getting under the skin of the opposition. You can see his work rate. He's full forward and he's pushed all the way down to the half-back line to be the outlet valve.
And when Ben Kane picks it up, he's got a kick to a smaller man in Kirkby. Laurie did pretty well, had about 4 touches of that and paid the mark. Heath Laurie. Now it's a 25-metre penalty for Kirkby, sneaking over the line about 1.5 millimetres. But Laurie goes on with play. But has it got to come back? Unless the umpire hasn't set the mark properly.
Well, it was a good 25. It was probably about 35. But having said that, I don't think Glenelg would be too perturbed by the fact that the ball has been slowed down and they've been able to get numbers behind the football.
Laurie is going to go short and looking for Sainsbury, and he was all over that for a moment, Sainsbury, and then the ball just bounced away. Young kids in, watching the football. Look at that. Peace, man. Looking good.
I think that's a brother stirring the sister up.
I think it might be. That's normally in photos, not with the actual TV cameras are on. Allen, Fox for the free kick. Murphy needs to drive with his left. Grimer's out in front, can't take the mark because it bounced. He then just handballs it away. O'Grady paddling. Was he hurled? Hayes dives on the footy. Good contest. Grimer head over the ball. Handball. Thomas has to get away. Did it okay. O'Hara out toward Callanan, but he's got some problems.
Tell you what, behind play, Richard Cochrane's got some problems too. The defender for the Bulldogs is Callanan, nicely down to Westhoff, breaks inside. Here's what they want to do, quickly move the ball down to half forward. Sainsbury from 50. Smother was brilliant coming in there from Adlington. Sainsbury goes again, flicks it across to Dutchke. Gee, he moves well. He gets away, he skips away and kicks a goal.
Well, that's just beautiful body movement by Dutchke. He gained possession of the ball. He had a player right on his backside. You can see the ball get smothered here. Sainsbury gathers the ball one-handed, brings it in, feeds the ball off. See that little shimmy? That's just strength through the core and through the backside there, and fantastic goal. Having the, I suppose, just the ability to be calm in the tackle, shrug it off, and then just slot a goal. Nice goal from 25 metres out directly in front.
Boys, Justin McConnell on for his first run. He's jumping out of his skin down in the Bay goal square.
I reckon he'll need to do a fair bit before the finals too. McConnell has been in and out of this team, and I think 3 or 4 goals might do the trick for him. But Dutchke, as you say, so strong through the core, and he's like a rubber band man. He's and very difficult to grab hold of. Very strong player. Kicked accurately a moment or two ago. Ball still in the middle, caught under a number of players. Ground in perfect condition. You would expect that at the Bay, a sandy surface sandy underneath the surface. Ruckman, Cranston, been so good with his directing his taps, but it's locked up again. It'll be another ball up in the centre.
A lot of one-on-ones around these stoppages. You can see the players wrestling with each other in the last second, just trying to push off and give yourself some space.
Ruwalt, good player this bloke, kicks long. Who's in front? McConnell's there, leaves it for Grimer, feeds it over to Chris Kane. He'll need to get rid of it, and he doesn't, and he's gone. Thomas nailed him.
Forward structure for Glenelg just not functioning at the moment. You can see Grimer is playing at full forward. He's getting led up the ground. He's fair way out when he takes possession. That time he was on 50.
Sainsbury. Adlington did well to knock it away from him, but Sainsbury held the line and held his feet. Kicks it up high into that dangerous area at centre half forward. Mules was clever, took a great mark. Now they can spread it and go. Umpire spotted at 25 though. And Richard Williams doing his best backpedaling. Takes the mark inside the centre square. Ben Mules will take the free kick. It's Centrals by 13 points. A tough start, just what we expected. Kirkby with the lead up, takes another strong mark under good pressure from Callanan. Kirkby now can come to Ruwalt. No, he goes higher and longer than that to Murphy. Good kick. Hit Chris Gowans in the back of the head because he was trying to spoil it. And now McConnell with a perfect kick to Grimer. Here's a goal coming up.
Well, Crossy, you described that one perfectly because it was a perfect kick. That was just pinpoint precision. See, the ball came from the centre of the ground. Lucky not to give away a free kick. McConnell there, he knew what he was doing. That was exactly where he wanted the ball to go. Silvanella really had no opportunity because the ball was put to the advantage of Grimer. Grimer just had to give Silvanella a simple nudge, take full advantage of the fact that he took a chest mark, played on and kicked a goal from virtually on the line.
Take you back 12 months, 2 years. Would McConnell have had a shot, or would he have gone for a pass?
Well, if he thought he could have kicked the goal, I'm not sure if he thought he was too far out. You're right, he probably would have had a shot on goal. But obviously at the moment he's trying to do the team thing.
He wants to stay in this side. Murphy in short. Kirkby, wonderful lead-up player. Back to Murphy, who kept running. It's not a bad movement by the Bays. They just need to gather the football. Plant's got it. Kicks to the pocket. McConnell on the stretch. A little bit of a height advantage. Not much over Cochrane, but he got in front. And he's the cleverest of players, this bloke, when he's on. And he can kick you 5 or 6 in the blink of an eye.
Well, this guy is an enigma. He can do the unbelievable, but he can also frustrate. And I think the coaches have pretty much walked that line for a number of seasons now.
Here he goes. He would practice these at training a fair bit. He's got this across the face. Mark taken by Button. He'll be paid. Will he just come around? Will he feed it off? Oh, the big fella's gone for it, and he's kicked it. Lovely goal. That's Mitch Morton-like from Richmond.
It was too. He had no hesitation. Big Lockie Button. He's got his hands on a couple of occasions to the ball and taken some nice marks. You can see he's got a distinct height advantage there. Takes the ball, has a look inboard, thinks, bugger it, I'll have a shot. I've done all the hard work. I might as well get the pats on the back, and he made no mistake there. Beautiful kick from a big fella.
Big ruckman playing on like that, eh? Confidence.
Well, it's fantastic to see, isn't it?
It is.
Extraordinary result for Glenelg too. 2-2 plays 2-3 at the moment. They trail by a point, but Glenelg across the season 9th for accuracy in the competition. And now they've given up the free kick in the middle, and it'll go to Matthew Slade. So the central small man looks quickly. He was blocked as he tried to go to his left, and so he goes bang long for Callanan. How did he get away? The little man takes a mark 25 out on a reasonably tough angle.
Well, you can see Byron Murphy's his direct opponent. Byron Murphy has had about 4 inside 50s for Glenelg. He's certainly playing a game where he wants to run off in Callanan. Callanan's smart enough to know that when Centrals have got the ball, if Murphy's not paying enough attention, he'll sneak out the back door and get by himself, and that's exactly what he did.
Callanan for his second of the afternoon, get a great angle on this one. And he's nicely brought it back for a 7-point lead for the Bulldogs, and the Bays fans were just about up to celebrate it behind.
They certainly were. The ball did some work. That's the win. That's his second goal. See the ball getting kicked long into the forward line. Murphy was a fair way away from Callanan, and Callanan just set the ball out to the left. The ball will always come left and right because the wind is blowing directly down the ground. If you're on either pocket, just push the ball into the centre corridor and the wind will do the rest when they're kicking to the right of screen.
He read the wind perfectly down here. It is blowing to right of screen, but it's into the grandstand pocket. He read that beautifully.
Griffin out of the centre. Dogs pump it forward again. Long kick by Griffin. Shell. Oh, I think he might have had it. No, taken off him by Kirk. That was well done. Pinozzo just slung in the tackle, and then Byron Murphy goes to the line. And I reckon when he gets up, he'll have a nice face print just down there on the turf.
Well, he's pretty keen to get to the boundary line then, Murphy. It was like a bit of a rugby scrum. He was taking 2 tacklers with him. He wanted the ball out of bounds.
Shell at the back, and both miss it. Shell again, second tap. Chris Gowans, high. Dutchke is going to have to do some great work and stand underneath the football and take what was coming to him, and he kept his eye on the football.
Well, he'll be lining up for his second in the first quarter. He's only 180 centimetres, but Dutchke is very strong overhead. He's got a fantastic leap. On that occasion, it wasn't necessarily his leap that got him the ball, but it was just his courage standing under the ball, knowing the pack was bearing down on him.
20 metres out, directly in front, goal umpire salutes. Dogs are back out by 13 points, and he is one of the tough men of the competition, this bloke, Scott Dutchke.
I think he's underrated as well. I'm sure at Centrals they don't underrate him, but the amount of work he does in the forward line, tackling and chasing, courageous stuff like that, standing under the ball. He's got a great leap. We saw him earlier in the game just shrugging off at the tackle, showing his core strength, and he made no doubt about that. He put the ball into the high school next door. This was a delay in the game, and they've asked for the new football, please.
Still on the roof of the primary school.
The primary school.
At the back there.
There you go, not high school.
Hadden quickly to James Gowans. All he thought about it got taken. Has to surrender it. There'll be 25 here if he doesn't quickly do it. Milks the clock as best he can. Ruwalt with the free kick. Ruwalt, as has been the base style, just goes long. Griffin got some good support, should have taken that, falls to the back. Sibonala was good. O'Hara's a long kick this time. Just pulls out the little chip to Sansbury. Kane tries to shut him down and corral him. In control beautifully, Sansbury down to half forward. James Gowans has skirted away up the left foot. Great kick. O'Sullivan should take it. No. Couldn't get there. Mules came across. Mules went to ground. Dutchke's got his third.
Well, James Gowans was the one who first gathered the ball in the centre of the ground. He was caught holding the ball, but as soon as he saw that his teammates were going to gain possession in the back half, he just sprinted forward. That's his goal. He put in a good 60, 70-metre sprint to get his hands on that football, and it was a beautiful kick into O'Sullivan, just out of reach. O'Sullivan did enough to just move Mules out the way, and obviously Dutchke goes in for the easiest of easy goals, his third goal for the day.
Centre break to the Bays. Ben Kane's kick wasn't the best. Oh, just getting under their kicks too. They're not punching sort of low and hard, are they?
Those 2 goals by Glenelg certainly stirred Central's up. Kicked the last 3.
Jay Griffin, that is a terrible knockdown to the goal side, taken by Cranston. An opportunity for the Bays there momentarily. Ben Kane ducked the head and then drew the tackle. The umpire says it was held in. And Ben Kane says, well, how about, was that, yes, Ben Kane? How about a free kick over the shoulder? But he did dive his head in. Taken by Kirkby, who just knocked it down. Hall slung in the kick. Haddon had to go. Was he held without it? No. Goes again, Haddon. Tackle from Fisher. It's a hot football there. It'll be a ball up.
Well, that was well umpired. Kane certainly did duck his head previously and then appealed for the free kick. You can't get a free kick if you're ducking the head.
Well, you can.
You can, but you shouldn't.
Well, you can, and you'll also be crippled by doing it. Dangerous thing to do. Central's working tough in these stoppages, coming away pretty well at the moment. They share the ball at the back, and finally Goodrum goes down to half forward. Sainsbury, he had his man beaten, then Adlington came again. It wasn't a mark, it's play on. Chris Gowans shares it with the long kicking O'Hara to the goal square. Shell dropped it over the back for the minor score.
Shell just looks dangerous to me. He's got his hands on the ball on a couple of occasions. Hasn't had the, I suppose, the confidence, or they haven't stuck at the moment. But if he can just get 1 or 2, I reckon he might be in for a day out.
Ball's amazingly on the wing. Doesn't take long. Griffin's handball wasn't good. Hall went off the ground. Just got the end of his boot on it. And he's been paid a free. It's a free against him for in danger. It'll go to Chris Gowans, who goes to Griffin. Handball to a ruckman at your peril, but he did okay. Got it to Goodrum, who got it to Williams, who kicks nicely and finds Haddon. That was Spur, in fact, who kicked it to him. Haddon finds Sainsbury. He played on. He's gone. Umpire Williams said that's okay. And then Hayes thought it was a free kick against his man. He was saying, which Bay player do I give it to? It flicks over the back again to Hayes from Haddon. And then Hayes measures the kick and finds Sibanela. Over the top, Goodrum. Goodrum's got a man in space in O'Hara. How can you leave O'Hara on his own? He's a thumping kick, and he drives it long, and there's the siren to end an entertaining first quarter. Umpires get a real spray, but hey, that's football on a Saturday afternoon in the SANFL or anywhere else in the country. Central District, second on the ladder. They're 5-4-34. They lead the Bays 2-2-14, but they pretty much used the breeze okay in their first term, the Doggies, Pies.
They certainly did. They played very well. That last decision there wasn't one of Richard Williams' better decisions. That was certainly holding the ball, but Central Districts, I reckon, would be pretty happy. They've got 2 or 3 goal advantage with the wind. They used it and had a lot of the ball early. You can see there some strong work in the central corridor, getting the ball to Gowans, Gowans on to Callanan. It's good to see him back in the team. You can see some beautiful work by Dutchke. This is the first of his 3 goals. Just some great work through the hips, just shrugging off his opponent. Glenelg were a little sleepy early until this guy came on the ground, and that perfect pass, pinpoint precision there. That is just a beautiful kick to a forward, just giving him the advantage. Button took a nice mark on the boundary line, and then quite uncharacteristically for a big fella, played on and snapped a beautiful goal. Spoke about Gowan's work right there, a 60-70 metre sprint to get hold of the ball. Dutchke pops in. That was pretty much his 3rd goal for the day, and Central would be pretty happy with the first quarter. You can have a look at the statistics there. Slightly in favour of the Bulldogs, particularly the inside 50s. You can see there 12-8, but you would expect that considering the fact that they're kicking with a 2 to 3 goal win.
Big afternoon, of course, for Central District this afternoon. It is their 1000th game of league football. And joining us now, one of their heroes from the early days out at Central's in Robin Mulholland, who played 112 games for Central District and won 2 bests and fairests. And I guess one of the most crucial things Robin Mulholland ever did was he kicked 5 goals in the last quarter against Sturt in the 1971 first semi-final. And Robin, that knocked Sturt out of the finals run, and that was after they'd won 5 grand finals in a row.
That's right, Neil. In fact, it was our first final, and as everybody knows, Sturt in those days were really the who's who of football. And I guess we had a strategy that we were going to win that game. And Paul Bagshaw was critical, and Sally say, well, he took Paul into one pocket. We took Brenton Adcock into the other one, a pocket he didn't like. And then in the last quarter, of course, it's history now that we, Barry and myself, I was a runner, Barry stayed onto the ball, and we ran Brenton out of place, and I ran free, and I guess I was lucky to kick a few goals. The luck of the Irish, I guess, eh?
Well, talking about the Irish, Robin, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your Irish heritage. Obviously, you played a bit of Gaelic football, and from there you went to Central Districts.
That's right. Well, I grew up in Belfast, of course, and came to Australia when I was getting on 16. Followed West Adelaide for a few years because they'd got good players like, you know, Curley, Ryan, Hogan and O'Driscoll. I decided when I was 18 I'd have a go at playing for South Gawler. And went out and played for them, and I was lucky enough to play in their first premiership in 1964, which was, you know, of course, 1963, sorry, which was Sonny Morey's last year in Gawler and my first year playing football. Of course, after that, Sonny went on and played a lot of league football.
And obviously played with you in a lot of league football. And Robin, tell me, the early days, look, they're covered in a new book that's coming out from yourself and Rob Laidlaw very soon. 50 years of history of the Central District Footy Club called Poms to Premierships. But what was it like in those early days? I mean, you know, even the change rooms, I imagine, would have been pretty threadbare.
Well, it was a great feeling back then because obviously the reason that the football club was placed in Elizabeth was because there was a lot of immigrants coming into the area, and Alec Ramsey and Sir Thomas Playford, they wanted to make sure that the immigrants coming out to that area of the new city, that they were going to be drawn into league football, or drawn into football Aussie rules. And of course our book Poms to Premiers underlines the fact that a lot of those people that came out to Elizabeth as immigrants got involved in football. And when I first went down there, I'll always remember, in fact the hair stand on the back of my neck every time I hear that Central's chant, because the immigrants got behind the game and it was just a tremendous atmosphere, and I think it still carries on today.
And tell me, these pictures we're seeing now, all from the book that's going to be actually released next month, but yourself and Rob Laidlaw, who's a historian at the club, it obviously is something of a labour of love for you, but where did the catalyst, what was the reason for launching the book this year?
Yes, look, we actually started the project, a couple of us started the project 20 years ago, and it really didn't come to fruition. And Robert stepped into the breach a couple of times and produced a couple of almanacs. And I'd have to say, if it wasn't for Robert's determination over the years, and then we eventually got together a couple of years ago and decided that 50 years was a very good time, and probably in hindsight we were lucky, because bringing it out at a time less auspicious than 50 years wouldn't have been good timing. But right now is the time to bring the book out. And of course, we're going to be launching that book on the 30th of August, and we're really grateful to the people we're working with, and particularly Open Boot Howden, who've really got behind us. It's going to be an excellent book, we think.
Well, good luck with the book, and good luck for the rest of the afternoon. It's fantastic to talk to you. One of the original Irishmen to come out to Australia and make something of Australian football, Robin Mulholland.
Good.
Okay, across to Chris Kendall now. Chris, you've been listening in at the huddles.
Yeah, certainly have been. Roy Laird really pleased with that first quarter. He wants them to keep backing themselves with the run as much as possible and keep running the bays off their legs. Mark Micken not too happy with the tackling more than anything else in that quarter. He said that their tackling was a lot below par. They need to work on that in their second quarter, going with the wind.
Thanks for that, Chris, and you can see the umpires just ready to start the game again, and believe me, the Bays fans are rather restless, not happy with that first quarter performance by their side, nor the umpires. Here's Michael Maney with the bounce.
Tell you what, Neil, we'll get Robin Mulholland on the boundary for us and up in the commentary box. I'll tell you what, he can go, can't he?
He certainly knows how to talk, doesn't he? Didn't miss a beat.
Did not miss a trick. We go again. Second term, Mackenzie. In hard, Allen, you'd expect that. Another ball up here in a moment. I can just sense it. And it will be. Tight match, 20 points the difference. Allen can't get through Mackenzie. Dogs will want to bottle it up a bit against the breeze, so might look for a lot of stoppages. I think a free kick is going against Fisher for a push on Mackenzie. So Mackenzie feeds it off to Spur. Spur punches long. Ball's going to die in that breeze, but well read by Adlington. Pretty handy in that first quarter, Adlington. The runner on the outside is Panozzo. Rewarded with a state game, Luke Panozzo. Willoughby has it knocked away by Spur, and it'll be a boundary throwing.
Yeah, in the first quarter, there were only 2 players with more than 5 possessions. Luke Panozzo had 8 for Glenelg. James Gowans had 10 for the Dogs, 3 kicks and 7 handballs.
Mackenzie perhaps the better of that. Speaking of Gowans, there was a little kick. Wonder if that's a stat. Moggy, we'll get a ruling on that, and we get another stoppage for James Gowans. We'll get up, surrender the ball. You're not going to count that?
No.
Gee, I thought it was effective too. It might have only been 2 metres, but he got it to Mackenzie.
Geez, you're harsh, Moggy. If I got a kick like that and you didn't include it as a stat, I'd be dirty on you.
I would have counted it, Moggy.
Ball back in the centre of the ground, as you can see, despite...
James Gowans now has 4 kicks and 7 handballs.
Despite now what we see in terms of the weather, and we've had a very wet start to July. That's very dry in the middle of the ground. Now the umpire reversed the decision to what he initially signalled. Allen will take the free kick, much to the enjoyment of the Bay fans. He goes long and direct. Kirkby just put a hand up, wasn't expecting the ball to get that far. Now another free kick perhaps, umpire no. Rules no free kick, and Yves Sibanelo shows off that body.
You just sense certainly the patrons are getting restless, and if the umpires aren't careful at the moment, I reckon this game could...
Oh no, everything's okay.
Everyone's okay.
A free kick 30 metres out straight in front for Justin McConnell. And the only thing that could have made it better is just off to the right, there was a little bit of push and shove. I think Kirkby went down looking for a 25 metre.
Well, I was just about to say this game could explode. I don't particularly like each other, Glenelg and Central as well. I don't think Central's like anybody, to be brutally honest. They play tough, hard, ruthless football.
McConnell from North Ballarat. He sneaks it home, and he's very happy about it. He's done his job so far.
Well, it's certainly what he's paid to do. If he's playing across the half-forward line, he can mark and lead up. You can see here, he read the ball well off the pack, felt the tackler coming from behind, and he just dropped his knees, smart enough to know that O'Sullivan was in his back, and the umpire pretty much had to pay a free kick there for in the back. He's had 1 goal assist and kicked 1 himself. That's not bad in just over a quarter of football.
Oh, he started late, of course, as well. He didn't come on until halfway through that first term.
No, there's almost a clash of heads. Cranston, knocked to Willoughby. Here they go. Needs to get rid of it. Does. Wobbly ball. Grimer can't mark. Sibanela there. Swooping on it is McConnell. Around the body. It floats. It won't be a goal. But he is looking danger man number 1 down there.
He's looking dangerous. I think that the coaches would have been a bit happier if he dished the ball off. You can see the pressure just starting to get to Centrals at the moment.
Yes, the kick in, out untouched, Grimer. The mistake made by the captain, Paul Thomas, for Centrals. Now Grimer tries to bend one around and only succeeds in kicking the minor score.
Well, I don't understand why that was called play on. Grimer was going back for a set shot, maybe moved off the mark slightly. The umpire saw that, called play on, thus he had to kick the ball on his left foot. Thomas won't make the mistake twice, I'd imagine. It was a class act. Perhaps just relaxed a little bit in concentration, kicking the ball out first time.
Oh, he's got courage. He spots O'Hara, who kicks to the wing. Mules is going to fly. He can't take the mark. Kane missed it. Ball flicked over the back. It was a free kick coming back to Mills for a push. In fact, it's Mules, I should say. I might have said Mills then. And Panozzo hands it back to the skipper. Dutchke on the mark. Away they go. O'Grady thought he was pretty handy in the Anzac Day clash, the Adelaide Oval. O'Grady doesn't quite know what to do. Umpire Williams says you better kick it, and he does. Punched it low, McConnell couldn't take the mark. Over the back, Hayes, pretty reliable defender, and he just threw it on the boot, to be honest. Thomas knocked it. Cranston, in fact, Kirk over the back. Hall just bounced off them. Handball, opens it up for Kane. Kane, shot on goal, was always going right. Needed to hit it left to drag it back on the breeze, and was always going straight through the behinds.
Certainly deserved better. Chris Hall did some great work in the pack, took possession of the ball, took on the player tackling him, just rode the bump, and then saw the fact that Kane was pushing forward. Kane, no doubt, didn't know he had a lot more time on his side, could have straightened up.
Well, a dangerous kick in. This time it's advantage Glenelg until Willoughby gave it away and then kicked out of bounds on the full by Williams. So Willoughby will get the free kick anyway.
It was an interesting choice there by Williams under enormous pressure.
O'Grady down the line just on the 50. Can drop it over for Hall as a left footer. Dangerous angle, but Chris Hall is a very skillful player.
Pockets at Glenelg Oval are not too deep, and for a left footer, this isn't a super difficult shot, particularly if he pushes the ball into the centre corridor and let the wind do the rest.
Premiership player with Subiaco in the WAFL, returning to the Bay this season. And what a wonderful finish that was. And it's a 5-point ball game.
It was a nice finish, but it wasn't a super difficult kick. As I said, the pockets are not deep here at Glenelg, and the wind is doing everything it possibly could for this kick to go through for a goal. It's pushing directly down the ground. You can see there Chris Hall read the breeze perfectly, and quite nonchalantly off 2 or 3 steps just slots it through the middle, puts Glenelg right back in the game.
One straight kick in it, and scores will be locked up if the Bays get the next. And the ball up in the centre. Cranston down. Allen always at the bottom of the pack. Ben Kane threw himself at it. Umpire says give it to me.
Been a fantastic recruit, Ben Kane. Certainly having, I believe, his best season since he's been at Glenelg.
Cranston lost it. Dutchke got rid of it. Ben Kane. Panozzo lost the run of it. Wheeling in there was O'Hara. He's caught by Ben Kane. I need to call him Ben Kane today because his brother Chris is out there. We're about to tick into the 8th minute, and it's a 5-point lead to the Bulldogs.
Cranston and McKenzie go at it again. Did McKenzie take that out of the ruck? No, said the umpire.
Certainly tough in the clinches. Both teams are struggling to get the ball free to any runners from the stoppages.
Oh, this will help. And it'll help Central's Tony Day picking out a free kick for holding. And it'll go to Chris Gowans.
It's amazing. There's so many one-on-ones. It's so much holding going on. And the umpires just get sick of it in the end. And they say, right, we'll pluck one.
Gowans long. Shell flies. He'll have to kick this every bit of 50. He's not going to. He's going to drop it in short. Couple of options almost. Bays crowd in around. Callanan almost spoiled Westhoff then as they both went for the ball.
Certainly lack of talk here. Both players going for the football. Callanan thought the pass was for him. Westhoff thought that he should have been the receiving player.
And in the end, Richard Williams picks out a free kick to Daniel Schell, which won't impress the Bay fans again. And Daniel Schell will line up from 35 metres.
Well, I didn't see what that was for, Michael. Did you? Rossi, did you see that one?
I think we'll take Richard Williams on notice there for his experience. Knew what he was doing as Daniel Schell. There actually wasn't much of an argument from the crowd, so maybe it was there. And he starts it right, brings it back nicely, a goal that just steadies Central's. And Rob, just at the moment, Central seemed to have control for a long period of time, and then a burst of 5 or 6 minutes comes, and it's good enough to get Glenelg back into the game.
Certainly the case. You're right there, Crossy. You can see the free kick there from, I think it was Cranston that did push Schell in the back. The umpire was there. I suppose technically the free kick was there, somewhat ticky-touch. Schell was the player rucking for the football and got pushed out, so you have to pay them.
Becomes critical when it's inside forward 50. Free kicks like that, O'Hara can't get through, and it'll be a ball up. 10 minutes gone by Philp, just waiting for the football. A lot of players around the ball. Murphy can't grab it. Ruwalt. Long probing kick. Grimer trying to use the body, but he's up against a good body player in Sibanela. Head over the football, Thomas. Chris Kane. Sibanela's got him. Another ball up just inside the attacking 50 for the Bays. They pressed early, and there's a man on the phone. Is that Williams on the phone? I think it might be. Maybe for that little dinky kick out of bounds on the full. Free kick over the shoulder against block. It'll go to Dutchke. He's got O'Hara in a bit of space. He might just chip it to him. And there he is, brings him into play. From half back, O'Hara punches long, very long. Up they go, Button. Lovely mark by the big man. Then uses Panozzo. Panozzo's got Fisher. Fisher needs to hit a target. He went long to the fat side of the ground. O'Grady can't take the mark. Ball loose. In goes Murphy. O'Hara dives on it. Congestion. A lot of players around the football. Dogs won't mind that. Another stoppage.
Just saw Lockie Button take that mark then. He is a much improved player. He's only 20 years of age, and for a ruckman that is super young. I'm sure there may be some AFL scouts just having a look at him at the moment.
Ball held in again. Yes, in Button's case, he's one of those prime players you'd think with the Gold Coast coming into the competition, not next year, but the year after. But compromised drafts coming up, which would make a mature player like that very much somebody to go for. Obviously, the game not keeping that young lass awake. She's nodded off. Plenty to keep the players alert out there, though. Tough, tight football. Murphy, they want to crash him down. O'Hara involved in that tackle. We'll get another ball up just on Glenelg's forward 50.
That's how I was at half-time at the for the Carlton-Collingwood game last night, Rob. Asleep.
No good.
Too much for me.
Must admit, I fell asleep at half-time as well. I don't know if that's due to the fact the game was poor or we're just getting old.
No, I think it's the game was poor. And we're old.
Don't admit your age. Now the ball comes out to Kirkby as he was falling. Hall was good with his vision. Execution left a little bit to be desired. Kane, that's Ben Kane, knocking the ball over the line.
Well, Chris Hall, certainly his strength is his kicking. It's not his handball skills. You can see there's a relatively simple handball, perhaps on his non-preferred hand, but needed to hit the target.
Griffin. James Gowans. Oh, ran into a brick wall there. O'Grady did some wonderful evasive stuff off the outside of the boot. The kick looking for Grimer was so good, but Hayes read it well. Grimer couldn't get there. Sibanala spreads to the outer side and then drops what he should have taken. Is that the old perceived pressure, is it, or just a little bit casual? Eve Sibanala doesn't have too many concerns in this competition. And
well, he spent the ball before he got it. Sibanello's been a fantastic player and he's one of the rocks for Centrals, but on that occasion, it wasn't one of his better marks.
Murphy trying to break free. Dutchke in there hard. And we see another ball up, another stoppage. Boy, it's been one of those days this afternoon. There's the fans there, the Tiger and Bulldogs fans, all getting along fairly well. Well, look at it. Umpires picked out another one of those glaring free kicks taken by Griffin. Thomas looks for Sainsbury. He can't get on the end of it. Fisher. It's just a little backhander there to Sainsbury just to let him know he's around. Boundary throw in. Where are we? 14-minute mark. And how many goals have we seen in this quarter? We've just seen 3.
Button perhaps had the best of that. Gowans read it though. Off the left foot down to half forward. Kirk did well. Used the body, got into front position. Panozzo now. They want to spread it wide. Button's made good ground. The big man took a great mark. Button now looks for Kirkby to lead up. Nobody coming at the moment. Decides to share to Panozzo. Around the back he goes to half forward. Kane was the target. Chris Kane. Ball knocked away by Paul Thomas.
We've mentioned Button a couple of occasions already today, but he took the ruck on the outer wing. The ball got kicked into the Central District's forward 50, and by the time Glenelg got it and released the ball, it was Button who received it on the other wing.
James Gowans, nice road, brilliant tap down by Griffin, and then Callanan. Callanan off the left foot, waited and then waited the kick perfectly to Shell, who does the same, into the pocket, dangerous. Oh, they've spilt it. Williams, now he's caught, wait on the umpire. Says I'll ball it up.
The last couple of times the Centrals have been inside their forward 50, there seems to be a distinct lack of talk. On another occasion there that Central players just didn't talk to each other. Give your teammate enough confidence to fly back with the ball and know there's no traffic, take possession.
Yeah, there's not as much talk down here at ground level, Pies. I must admit, I've noticed that myself. They've been a bit quieter, the Bulldogs.
Button, shark by Williams, had to get rid of it quickly. Adlington fed it nicely. Plant working hard. The handball was pretty good to Ben Kane, who's got pace. Kane can kick long, looking for brother Chris. Laurie's got front position. He's a left footer. He'll want to get around there. He did okay in the end to take it to the line, and Chris Kane almost takes out our cameraman down there. at ground level.
It was nice work by Laurie. It was a foot race with Kirkby. He wanted to get in front, got his hips inside of Kirkby. That's why the ball went out of bounds. It's just more desperate.
Over the back, Cranston. The knockdown. Hayes needs to feed to Sibanala. Sibanala wants to get around block. Good tackle block. Oh, O'Hara's under pressure. And under a little bit too much pressure in the handball. Looking for Goodrum. Just floated over the line. Boundary throw in.
I reckon he hit that handball quite well.
Goodrum didn't have too much room to move, I must say. Up they go. Taken out of the ruck was Laurie. Got the kick away. Kirkby gang tackled. And held to him. Umpire Tony Day says, give it to me. 16.5 gone. And it's a pretty handy little lead at the moment. It's 11 points to the favour of the Bulldogs.
Another stoppage. Williams with a loose hand pass. Ruwald's vision wasn't too bad. Got it to the square, weight on it. Umpire says McConnell at fault. And it'll be a free kick. Umpire says play on. Richie Cochran takes off, drops it in short. Spur. He drops it in short. Fisher came late. Umpire said yes, that's a mark. So Haddon. That was maybe touched. It's now play on anyway because it was nicely knocked away from Spur by Willoughby. That turnover forced by... No, it wasn't. Almost they forced the turnover. Willoughby did well going back against the flood of the ball.
I don't think you'll put this game in the pretty classification. It certainly isn't nice football, but what it is, it's absolute arm wrestle between the two teams.
Well, we go back to that analogy. It's like those cartoons where you've got a scrap between 2 or 3 individuals and then the ball floats out for a second and they all get right back into the contest. And have a look at that. That's the hard centre wicket area and it hasn't worked to the advantage of the Bulldogs as Plant puts it forward for McConnell. Surely he's held. Yes, says the umpire. McConnell quickly
Button's
looks
on.
up. Fantastic kick to Button. You heard Rob mention it. He's 25 metres out, is Lockie Button, and he's making a name for himself this afternoon.
He certainly is. He's doing everything, roaming around the ground. On that occasion, he just floated forward. McConnell smart enough to see it. Great vision. You can see there, no Central's player anywhere near him.
2 years ago, Lockie Button rated the most outstanding junior at the Bay, and that's not an outstanding kick for goal. Let himself down, and after he's done such magnificent work through the match, including, of course, that play on snap over the shoulder at the other end of the ground for a goal.
Well, he could have finished off a fine half of football there. Just kicked the ball to the left, hooked the ball, but he's doing everything right so far.
Tigers give up that short kick to the back pocket, O'Hara, and then reset a wall at half back. O'Hara tries to go across that wall. Oh, Kirkby with a huge leap. Doing the roving Dutch gear. Gowans caught. Ball was held to him. That's James Gowans. Just took the tacklers. And then straight away, up he gets. There's a bit of a chat to Snouts Louts. Ben Kane. Allen, handball smothered. Griffin, Dutchke gets around, feeds off to O'Sullivan, who's been quiet. Away to Griffin again. He'll kick to open spaces. Who can get back? Sainsbury needs a good bounce. Oh, got a beauty. And kicked a goal. Oh, just fell on his lap. Could have gone anywhere, that ball. But Sainsbury was smart enough to collect it. And the Dogs are out by 16 points. Good bounce into the breadbasket of Ed Sainsbury.
Certainly was. I've seen contrasting bounces. He saw one in the centre of the ground that flew over the head of the Central player. On that occasion, Sainsbury sort of smothered the ball, gave himself every opportunity, but as Michael Marnie said, that ball could have gone anywhere. Luck's a fortune when you attack the ball, I suppose.
One of the bigger crowds we've seen this season, and certainly one of the most vocal. They've got plenty to say from both sides down here.
Well, I don't know, Chris. I reckon I'm hearing more from the Bay fans at the moment. They're not happy. And the ball held in there. O'Sullivan and Chris Gowans doing the tackling, and Ty Allen complaining that he's being held all the time. He's a fantastic clearance player. No doubt about that. Free kick high on Callanan. Play on. He sweeps it wide. O'Hara will be on his natural leg. He looks up inside 50, sets it up nicely, looking for Shell. And another burst coming from Central District. It looks like he'll kick 2 goals in, what, 90 seconds or so.
Well, some great work from O'Hara there. Shell basically pointed to where he wanted the ball, and that is exactly where the ball went, giving you forward advantage. You can see there, all Shell had to do was pretty much hold his ground. The ball's going to fall in his lap.
Opposed to Wade Mills. Earlier this season kept Brant Chambers pretty much under control. He's having his problems with Daniel Shell, who kicks a goal, second inside 90 seconds for Centrals, and they skip away to a 22-point lead.
Well, you've made mention of it previously, Crossy, about the momentum shifts in the game. Centrals seem to have control of the game. Glenelg get a bit of a sniff for a while, but it tends to then spark Centrals to go a little harder and kick goals in bursts. They're playing burst football at the moment, and they're kicking accurately 8-4, whereas Glenelg in front of goals have been disappointing, 4-6.
That's if you leave us alone.
Yeah, don't put cameras anymore.
Yes, and Daniel Shell on target, 2 straight after he booted 6-5. And he missed some easy ones. The clearance goes to the Doggies, goes to Sainsbury, who loves to run. He kicks it long. Getting back is Shell over the top. Can he rove his own ball? It just dribbled through for a behind. He was looking Mr. Dangerous down there again, Daniel Shell.
Again, quick transition in. Umpire has spotted 25 metres for Willoughby. Glenelg keen to move the ball. In fact, I think both sides are keen to move the ball quickly. The problem is, both sides defensively are doing a fantastic job. They're down to half forward, and Chris Kane for the Bays. Kane looks up, spots it, 25 out, looking for Kirkby. Crash go the bodies. Ball on the ground, and Cranston didn't know he had it. Now he knows he's got problems, and he's holding the ball.
That's fair enough. Cranston had the ball, fell to the ground in the tackle, tried to stand up again without disposing of the football. You have to pay that holding the ball.
Haddon with a mark. Just on the arc of defensive 50 for the Central District side, and that's again Dutchke, hard work against Panozzo, and it was too high then. The tackle just a little bit over aggressive. Byron Murphy's available in centre field, but they're not going to go to him. Plant is just taking his time now, decides to go back to go forwards. Mills, who hasn't touched the ball often this afternoon, as we mentioned, he's had some problems. Oh dear, he almost created some problems there for Hall. That surely wasn't play on until after the player had tackled Hall, and the umpire calls it now as a bounce.
Well, that's unbelievable, because the umpire has to call play on, and the umpire has not called play on. The player has just tackled him from behind.
Why isn't it dropping the ball?
It's one or the other. It's either a 50-metre penalty or a drop in the ball.
Mills crashes through. The Queenslander showing some rugby league style. Off to Allen. Allen goes for McConnell. He gets a little bit under it. Cochran comes late, knocks it away. O'Grady a little bit slow. O'Hara rushes it over the line.
I think O'Grady thought he was on his own there. His peripheral vision wasn't good. He was loping there.
He was. He thought it's his easy picking, but O'Hara just snuck underneath him. You can see the ball carrying a little bit more into Glenelg's forward line. McConnell getting under the ball.
That line there, if you want to copy it down, we're going to keep it up long enough, hopefully, if you get a pen and paper, because it's a long introduction to a website that will take you to all the highlights from the TSL, the VFL, the WAFL, and of course our own SANFL at abc.net.au.
Thanks, Neil. And another ball up. Just the use of the football, letting the Bays down at the moment. McConnell just getting under that, so complicated the situation. But they need to use the ball a little better. Murphy then with a misdirected handball. Ben Kane back to Chris Hall. Hall's wobbly old kick can't be marked by Chris Kane. Another bit of evidence of that. Hadden got it out to back to Spur, and a player is down. I think it might be Chris Kane who's hurt himself down there. He's trying to get up. Taken by Thomas. Thomas goes in short. Lovely kick. And spots up Laurie, is it? Heath Laurie. There he is, just hobbling away there. Laurie's kick is a pretty ordinary one. Ball to be won. Ben Kane there. Lewis Hadden also. And yeah, Chris Kane, he's got the wobbles up. He's something with that left leg, I think.
In this quarter happened here, you can see there, just a corky straight in the thigh of the left leg.
And Hayes has been pinched for the push. Kirkby, who can go the distance just about. Gee, was that milked well by Hayes. Kirkby looks up, doesn't go the distance, goes for McConnell, got him. That time the ball wasn't set up just above his head, and that time he was able to judge it a little bit better.
And Glenelg did very well at creating some space, allowing enough space for one of their forwards, which was McConnell, to lead into.
So here's the original problem with clearly two hands there, pushing away on Kirkby from Hayes as the ball comes in and away to the left. It's a poor finish, and at half-time, it's not a good way to go into half-time. Central District 8-5-53. Glenelg with some poor kicking, notably that kick. 4-7-31, 22 the margin in favour of the Dogs.
Well, as you can see, McConnell, that's why he frustrates the coaches. He does all the hard work. Glenelg really needed that goal late in the quarter, particularly after the siren had sounded, just to give themselves that close proximity going into half-time. Glenelg were interesting that quarter. They certainly had enough of the ball to hurt Centrals, but unfortunately they didn't put scoreboard pressure on. Centrals would have been reasonably happy the fact that Glenelg weren't accurate in front of goal, and then bang, they went and kicked 2 or 3 goals.
And at half-time, it's Central District 8-5, Glenelg 4-7.
So good. Sometimes I think Nana wears a headscarf too tight. Current job title? Head Librarian, Middleton Interactive Learning Centre, Mobile Division.
A new chapter begins.
Hi, Francis.
Television you can't put down.
Our country, our rules.
The brand new edition of The Librarians, opening for business soon on ABC One.
One kiss from you.
Best of Roots Homegrown, a collection of roots-inspired songs from some of Australia's up-and-coming and established artists.
I'm sorry.
And Sundays in the Park, a double CD showcasing a collection of classic chill-out tracks with some more contemporary blues and roots recordings. Both CDs available now from ABC shops, centres, music retailers and online.
Hi, I'm Troy Sachs. Come and support us, the Rollers, as we battle the best of the best at Sydney Olympic Park. See Australia take on Canada, Great Britain and Japan as 4 of the top 5 teams on the planet slug it out at the Rollers World Challenge from July 29th to August 1st. Be there and see why nobody pushes us around.
The Rollers World Challenge Wheelchair Basketball starts Wednesday, ABC 2.
With TIA, there will be nowhere to hide.
I can find out about anyone.
The police have it all on camera.
Nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. They are watching.
Try to see the bigger picture.
I can't read the signs, I don't understand the language.
Keep your nerve.
I've got a question for you.
We need to understand him. Then we can take a decision on him.
Thrilling drama with the last enemy. Tomorrow.
How many biochemists does it take to change a light bulb?
Logging off.
Game number 1,000 in league football for the Central District Football Club. I think just got that out. The Bulldogs kicking 3-2 in that second term, and they hold a 22-point advantage at half-time here at the Bay on, as we said, an historic afternoon. Well, time now to look at the under-18 competition in the SANFL last weekend.
Fifth spot was the prize on offer for the winner at Oval Avenue, with the incumbent Centrals being challenged by the Eagles. The home side was hardly confident, coming off bad losses to the top 3 sides, Glenelg, Port and Sturt, in successive weeks. Carrying that baggage showed as they were left at the station as the Bulldogs opened with a 4-goal quarter to establish a 23-point lead. They almost gave up that advantage by half-time, with the Eagles finally realising they were supposed to be playing and getting within 4 points. But the Bulldogs pulled away in the second half with wingman Ashley Fry named best on ground, handling the ball 28 times, delivering the pill inside 50 a couple of times and also kicking a goal. Oh, and just in case you think he might have been too interested in attack, he also laid an impressive 6 tackles. Josh Waldhuter returned from the State Under-16 Championships to lend a hand with 3 goals among his 16 disposals, while skipper Jared Schiller collected 26 touches. And just for good measure, Ryan Appleton was named the MVP for the round. The Bulldogs vice-captain registered 9 kicks and 12 hand passes. For the Eagles, Zach Fitzgerald was one of the best, kicking 4 goals, 5 from his 17 kicks and pulling down 10 marks, 4 of them contested. Unfortunately for Zach and the Eagles, though, they fell away after the long break, with Centrals adding 7 goals to 2 to win by 36 points and kick a game clear in 5th. There's been no joy for the Roosters this winter. Well, OK, there was that one win, but facing 4th place Westies, only the most loyal of fans would have given North's youngsters a chance. For half a game, though, it seemed the Roosters could match the best of the Bloods. Westies led by 21 points at quarter time, but were outscored in the lead into half-time by the gallant young Roosters, who cut the margin to 15 points at the long break. Dale Armstrong again was best for North. A member of the SANFL Under-18 Academy, Dale collected 38 possessions with his 21 kicks at better than 80% efficiency. Ruckman James Onke also was impressive for the Roosters with 23 disposals and 25 hit-outs. North certainly had enough of the ball, taking it inside 50 41 times, but in the end the weight of numbers went with Westies. They produced 6 unanswered goals in the third term to skate away to a 55-point advantage. Josh Farmer was rated as the Bloods' best, with 28 possessions, 6 marks and 2 goals, part of his resume. Dylan Ribbons was also among the stats, credited with 34 touches, pumping the ball into attack 7 times. And State Under-16 player defender Drew Gallard made an impressive debut in the 18s competition, rebounding the ball out of the Bloods' defensive zone on 7 occasions. With winners across the ground, Westies walked away with a 40-point victory. The round 16 league clash between these two clubs provided the unexpected, with the Double Blues only just getting past the Panthers. This under-18 clash went as predicted, though, with Sturt far too strong for South. It was a tight contest until quarter time, and then the Double Blues took control. Overall, Sturt collected 70 more possessions than the Panthers. Christian Calabrese kicked 4 goals from his 21 possessions to be among the Double Blues' better players, while Brett Ellis was rated their best as he racked up 28 possessions and delivered the ball inside 57 times. Ross Trevor Border Jack Hombush made an eye-catching under-18 debut for Sturt. Returning from being part of the SA team at the National Under-16 Carnival, Hombush pulled down 6 marks and kicked 2 goals from his 16 disposals. Another Ross Trevor lad, Jamal McKenzie, played in the back pocket and gathered 17 touches, every one of them effective, kicking the ball out of the defensive zone on 8 occasions. Keegan Brooksby was again among the better performers for the Panthers with 20 possessions and 23 hit-outs, while Shane Meyer picked up a handy 29 disposals and 11 marks. The Double Blues maintained their hold on third place, though, with a 61-point victory over the Panthers. The match of the round was clearly this clash between the top 2 sides, with the Bays entering the game 1 win behind Port. In the early 90s, Port Adelaide and Glenelg boasted the biggest rivalry going around, and throughout that period, the toughest place to play was at the Magpies' home ground at Alberton. Times have changed. Port's league side isn't nearly so well performed, and the trip past the Cheltenham Cemetery isn't nearly as daunting. Clearly, it held no fears for the Tiger Cubs as they jumped out to a 4-goal lead at quarter time. A performance all the more impressive because they were forced to make late changes as 3 players were called up to the reserves team. The Magpies fought back to trail by 7 points at half-time, but the Tigers put the paw on the throat with a powerful third term featuring a 5-goal burst inside 15 minutes. They held a 46-point advantage at the final change of ends and ran out comfortable winners. For the visitors, Christian Howard was judged best on ground with 28 possessions roaming across half-back, while Josh Trembath and Nick Kane both kicked 3 goals. With 17 possessions and 7 tackles, Josh Hand was rated the Magpies' best, and in a beaten side starved of scoring chances, Scott Lysett was the only multiple goal kicker with 2. And so Glenelg is at the top of the ladder, displacing the Magpies with a 46-point win.
And quickly through those scores around the under-18 competition in round 16 with Glenelg by 46 points, as we just saw there. Westies by 40 points over North Centrals. Comfortable 6-goal winners over the Eagles, and Sturt comfortable 10 goals and then a little bit over the Panthers. And Norwood with the bye. The under-18 ladder now with Glenelg displacing Port at the top of the ladder, and then Sturt, West and Central making up the 5. The Eagles still a chance to sneak into that 5 along with Norwood, and the Panthers and North Adelaide probably looking to season 2 in the under-18 competition. While around the country, it's the business end, of course, of the season. We'll start with the WAFL.
Round 17 of the Waffle headed out of the city to Corrigan, where West Perth played Peel, with the Thunder adapting the better to the conditions through Ashley Arrowsmith. It would prove the only goal of the quarter, as both sides struggled to convert, Peel holding a 7-point lead at quarter time. The second quarter was an instant improvement for the Falcons as they finally booted their first goal. Jack Darling showed some impressive marking skills on debut before Brent Lacroix kicked his second goal to give West Perth a 10-point lead at half-time. The Falcons continued with the momentum in the third quarter as Anthony Salika snapped truly, while Brandon Hill finally kicked Peel's second goal of the match. West Perth punishing the Thunder's poor defence to hold on to a 17-point break at three-quarter time.
Running from behind Coonan, and he goals. That's probably the nail on the coffin.
The celebration started early for the Falcons in the final quarter as Darling booted his first goal in senior football. West Perth proving simply too strong as they registered a 41-point victory.
Lacroix with it, goes for his 4 and ices the game.
Brent Lacroix leading the goal kicking with 4, while Hayden McLeod booted 3 for the Thunder. In other round 17 matches, Perth proved too strong for Claremont, Subiaco had a 31-point win over the Sharks, the Royals had a good win over the Swans, while the Bulldogs had the bye. To the ladder, and the Bulldogs and Subiaco remained only separated by percentage at the top from the Swans and West Perth making up the top 4. Perth and the Royals sit outside from the Sharks, followed by the Tigers and Thunder. Trevor Barker Beach Oval was the neutral venue as Collingwood and Casey faced off in round 14. And Matthew Whelan gave the Scorpions the best possible start.
Inside the first minute, Matthew Whelan with the first goal.
Casey in complete control in the first term as they booted 4 goals to 1 with the aid of a strong breeze. The Pies began to throw their weight around in the second, but after Chris Stores kicked their second goal from well outside 50, they couldn't impact further on the scoreboard. The Scorpions defying the conditions to kick 3 in a row as captain Kyle Matthews continued to inspire his teammates.
Oh, and speaking of running, Matthews goes ground. Clever tap to Hughes.
Casey by 28 at the main break. Ryan Creed felt the full force of the pumped-up Magpie outfit after the half, but their intensity didn't translate to points as the Scorpions continued their assault. Michael Newton, the standout, as he showed his strength.
And brilliant judgment by Newton at the back.
His sometimes erratic kicking also on song. 3 for the term, seeing his side out by 52 points with a quarter to play. Collingwood were playing for respectability in the final term. Steele Sidebottom goaling early, and Chris Bryan adding a pair, including a massive bomb from the centre circle.
Chris Bryan, will he unload one from the centre square? He does. The Jeff Ferry kick. A boomer. It could go all the way. There you go.
But the Scorpions weren't finished either, as they kept the scoreboard ticking over. David Donchie adding the icing, his goal on the siren seeing them home by 62. Bryan's 3 goals the standout for the Pies, while Newton finished with 4 to be the pick of the Casey forwards. In other round 14 action, Geelong proved too strong for Coburg. Port got over the Bombers by 13. Williamstown were comfortable winners over Box Hill. Frankston had their second win of the season, accounting for Werribee. The Bullants got home in a thriller over the Roosters, and Sandringham had the bye. To the ladder and Williamstown are 2 games clear on top, followed by North Ballarat and Port. Casey are next, followed by Collingwood, Box Hill, the Bullants and Geelong, all locked on 7 wins. Coburg are outside the 8, then it's Sandy, Werribee and Frankston, with Bendigo still on the bottom without a win in 2009. It was the second weekend of the split round in the TSL as North Launceston took on the Blues, with Andrew McLean showing at 35 years of age who still has the magic touch for the home side. The Bombers racing to an early advantage through some good movement, but the Blues would fight back late in the quarter to trail by 3 points at the first change. Launceston made the most of their opportunities in the second quarter.
He's gone the banana and he's kicked it!
Darren Crawford a steady presence up forward, kicking his second goal to keep the home side in touch, but the Blues would again respond late in the quarter as Adam Derbyshire gave them a 1-point lead at half-time. North Launceston came out attacking in the second half as Anthony Viney booted his second goal for the home side as the Blues continued to waste their chances in front of goal. Viney dominating up forward and guiding the Bombers to a 10-point break at the final change. The final quarter was all the Blues as they desperately attacked the ball before finishing with a touch of class from the boundary. Launceston on a roll as they booted 6-0 to register a 26-point win. Anthony Viney kicking 4 goals for the home side, while Adam Derbyshire also kicked 4 for the Blues. In the other matches to complete the round 13 split round, Clarence defeated Devonport, while Glenelg proved too strong for the Tigers. To the ladder, and Burnie sit on top from Glenelg, Clarence, the Demons and Bombers, with Devonport making up the top 6. Launceston sit outside from Hobart, Lauderdale and South Launceston.
All the action from right around the country with Kirsty Bradmore. And, gee, I'll tell you, there is some great action around the country, isn't there? Even at this level, as they say.
Well, this level is a pretty good level, so it's some fantastic action, as we've just seen.
Well, we go down now to one of the better performers on the ground this afternoon. He's with Chris Kendall, and it's umpire Richard Williams. And, gee, I would have thought Richard Williams has had some interesting decisions in the first half, put it that way. We'll go to you in a minute, Chris, but just looking at some of the highlights of his afternoon, but certainly he's sparked some controversy at the Bay.
Yes, certainly has, of course. Over 400 games of SANFL. Now, it's a magnificent achievement, Richard. 400 games, probably the likes of which we're never going to see again. What do you actually attribute that to? Is it a great fitness regime, or...?
Oh, I think it just means I've been around for a long time, I think. So 20 years of umpiring league footy, I've been blessed, really.
Now, Neil Cross did touch on a couple of interesting ones in the first half there. We're having a look at some vision now of Eddie Sainsbury there, the one that wasn't paid when he had stepped off his mark. Any reason that one not paid?
Oh, the time I called him play on, and I thought he didn't hear me call him, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt. My two mates, Theron and Tony, thought I should have knocked him off holding the ball, so it's probably another one wrong in my 400 games.
Well, I suppose there's going to have to be one or two wrong in that 400 games. Now, Richard, the crowd's had plenty to say to you over these 400 games. What would you now like to say in your opportunity to say something back to the fans?
No, I think most of the clubs, what they say is quite humorous and funny, and you can't help but laugh sometimes, and that's what makes footy such a great game, the passionate supporters.
Yep, certainly does. 400 games, a great achievement. Well done, Richard.
Thanks, Chris.
Chris Kendall there with Richard Williams, who's had his moments, and as we can see, he's had his moments with the Gowans boys, but I don't think he's alone in that respect.
No, he certainly isn't. Look, he's been a fantastic umpire, and you can see the umpires, they have a lot of discussion with the players. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. If you look at the players, they'll always say they're wrong, but at the end of the day, we need them in our game, and Richard Williams has been fantastic for the SANFL.
Look, the thing to remember is, of course, this isn't the top level of football. I think in AFL football, you get a reasonable little bit of pocket money when you're umpiring. It's not so much the case. It is definitely pocket money when you're at this level, and it's fantastic that you have people week in, week out who are prepared to put their decision-making ability on the line, and it's fantastic to watch. And this afternoon's game's been fantastic as well. There's a big crowd, as usual, here at the Bay, and Justin McConnell, very important for the Bays in that second quarter, but gee, neither side really taking absolute full advantage of their opportunities, but particularly the Bays.
No doubt Glenelg had a lot of the play in that second quarter. They had a fair amount of the ball. They just didn't capitalise in front of goal. Having said that, if a guy like Chris Hall gets his hands on the ball and he's inside 50, well, he's a pretty good percentage to kick the goal. And as you could see on that occasion, kicking from the boundary is very good. Seemed to spark Centrals though. Centrals were a little slow off the mark at the start of the second quarter, and then they went bang bang. Shell kicked 2. Spoke about Button. He's had a fantastic game. Unfortunately, he didn't finish off with that goal there as he should have. But Centrals, when they're on, they are really on. You can see here luck of the bounce, but the player just ran full speed. Eddie Sainsbury at the ball and finished with a nice goal.
Absolutely, and that gives us a scoreline that looks like this, with the Tigers 4-7 and the Bulldogs 8-5, a 22-point margin at half-time. As we said, as we look through these stats, the inside 50s favour very much the Tigers, but if we look at just what happened in that second term, it was some wasted inside 50s by the Tigers and some great efficiency by Centrals.
Well, in the second quarter alone, Glenelg had 16 inside 50s compared to Central 6. Glenelg only kicked 2 goals, 5, so didn't capitalise. They had plenty of scoring opportunities, 7 scoring shots to 4 in that second quarter, but unfortunately no scoreboard pressure.
Quick look around the grounds, and Norwood over the Panthers by 31. Come back to that in a sec. Sturt by 43 over Port Adelaide. They've smashed, and the Eagles over North Adelaide by 32. Gee, the Panthers have got some serious issues with their performance.
They have. They've only won 1 game. They're playing the second of the bottom club. They're a club that really isn't going anywhere. They don't have any good juniors coming through. Their reserves are sitting close to the bottom of the ladder. You wonder how sustainable 9 teams are in the competition, and if a club like the Panthers, who have money, need to amalgamate with a club like Port Adelaide that don't have any money but have a huge amount of
controversy.
Culture.
And the Panthers, of course, have still the club colours of blue and white, and they've had them forever. I don't think they'll want to get rid of those. Here's Michael Maney with the second half here.
Big second half coming up, Neil, and this will be a real beauty. If Centrals are going to maintain top dog, they'll continue on. If the Bays want to challenge, they've got to come up with something in the second half. Slade, away to Griffin. Griffin was going to handball the umpire. Amazing stuff. Saw a bit of white, was going to handball to him. One of the funniest things I've seen for a while. Here's O'Sullivan finding space to use Westhoff. Westhoff centres the ball. Top of the square. Mills can't take it. Chris Gowans thought about the left. Gave it to Shell. Instinct says, I'll give it off to a player in a better position. Slade shrugs the tackle. Sainsbury. Oh, is it a Doddle? No. Brilliant tackle. How did he get rid of it? O'Sullivan's kick barely went 15. Kane goes to punch. Is the ball still in? Shell tries to keep it in. Boundary umpire says, give it to me. Jonathan Griffin was going to handball to the umpire running past.
Well, a disappointing result for Centrals there. They had all the plays, should have taken the set shot, had players free, could have dished off, but Sainsbury got caught in the tackle.
Cranston, Allen couldn't take it, got it back, drew the tackle. Some of the crowd says, say ball, and umpire Williams says, give it to me. There they are. Just watching on. Allen. How did he get out of there? Brilliant to Ben Kane, and the Tigers will just run it out of halfback.
Kane towards centre wing. Hayes got his man under the ball. That was Plant, and he went over, and over the mark, I should say, and a 25-metre penalty is imposed. It's down now to about 65 metres from goal. Edu Hayes quickly off to the long kicking O'Hara. They know their man. O'Hara goes deep for Shell. Mills with the punch away. Then a possession. Oh, he's in trouble. On the roundabout, umpire Richard Williams says play on. There was a snap out of there. And it will be a minor score from Callanan.
You do wonder how Mills got rid of that ball then. Great tackle by Shell. Had one arm pinned, the ball just hit the ground. Richard Williams was close.
I think it was centrifugal force. That's how he got rid of it.
Certainly didn't dispose of it by hand or foot. Ball just dropped out of his hands.
Mills goes wide, targets Kirk, and he takes a player out. Dutchke puts on the afterburners, goes long. Scotty Dutchke's got 4. And they've all come at that end.
Certainly have. It's been instrumental when Centrals have had the breeze like they have at the moment in the third quarter. Obviously had it in the first quarter as well. Dutchke had 3 in the first quarter. You can see here, just read the ball off the pack, bubbled free off of a Glenelg player's leg, and on the boundary line, had players in the central corridor to kick the ball too, but he knew his own form was good and just put the ball straight through the middle.
He's got forwards type stats, 5 kicks, 4 goals.
Playing in the midfield. Griffin drives his club forward again. Surely a push. Yes, it was. Callanan to take the free kick. Ben Kane says, oh, come on, I took the mark.
Well,
I don't think there was any doubt, was there?
No doubt whatsoever, and Richard Williams was about 5 metres away.
Callanan trying to go the distance. Oh, he got under it a bit. It'll go to the line for a minor score.
Boys, just briefly from the rooms at half-time. No injury reports for Centrals. Jimmy Gowans rolled an ankle just on the edge of half-time, but he's going to be fine. Chris Kane's got a little bit of a groin strain. He's on the bike at the moment, but he should be right to go back into the action soon.
Here's Kendall on the boundary for us today. Mark Soderstrom not with us for the next week or two. Ben Kane. Next kick pretty important. Will it be short? Will it be long? They've tended to go to that outer side a fair bit. And Murphy just got the handball away before Chris Gowans could grab him. And then that kick just helicopters into the breeze and rolls out of bounds. Pretty tough going around that side. I think that's a defensive way to play that side around that, to try and get it to the fat side of the ground and try and work it through the corridor, Rob. They're going out pretty wide.
Certainly are. It's not a bad position to be if you're Glenelg. Glenelg kicking against the wind in this quarter. Certainly don't want to be taking the ball through the corridor.
Plant and Ruwalt got the kick away. Cochrane. Panozzo's gone forward to give them some bite. Back to Willoughby. Willoughby's got a man inside in Hall. Hall wants to get around Goodrum, then fed it back to Willoughby. Willoughby goes short to Kirkby. Can he take the mark? No. Just props. And held without it, played for it and got it.
Well, Kirkby's sort of been out of form today. He should have snaffled that up. That was a reasonably easy chest mark there. He didn't body the ball. He was clever enough not to take possession of the football. Pretend to take possession, and Slade gave the free kick away.
Kirkby, this will be a good kick. He's trying to work it to the right, but it's just away. 29 points the difference in favour of the Dogs.
I said at the start of the game that Kirkby and Grimer, two key forwards, do really need to kick a bag of goals, at least one bag between the two of them if Glenelg are to get home. And you can see the lead's just starting to push out to that 5-goal mark.
Cranston with the intercept and a rare kick for him. The big ruckman, an effective kick too. It just landed in the hands of McConnell. And I'll tell you what, that wasn't the greatest looking kick, but as I said, effective.
Certainly was effective. McConnell, he has a knack of getting to the right spot. You can see it was almost like off the inside of the boot, half a drop punt, half a snap. McConnell has kicked 1 goal too.
And from 30 metres out, he kicks it straight. So the Bays get one back, and it's badly netted, and that's somewhat of an understatement.
Well, McConnell's second goal, Glenelg certainly needed that. He's kicked 2 goals too. He perhaps should have kicked 4 goals. He's also given one away. That was to Grimer, but I'm sure the Glenelg coaching staff would certainly be happy the fact he's getting his hands on the ball.
Yes, he's just can turn a game, Justin McConnell. He needs to work hard. Griffin went a bit early. Only a bounce in that centre cricket pitch we saw earlier. Block to Hall. That's a good stretch.
Clever kick too by Block.
He can kick this long haul. And he doesn't. Just a real helicopter. Kirkby. Just threw the neck back, a la Tim Weatherall. Who was that? Looks like Kane, is it?
Kirkby.
No, that's Kirkby. Yeah. Just threw the head back to ground. Kirkby goes to ground off the footy. Slade in there. Bit of work by Panozzo, and there's Chris Kane, I think, on the bike.
His left quad, Corky, trying to keep that moving so the blood doesn't calcify in the leg.
I'm taking over from Mark Soderstrom. There's nothing wrong with his chromioclavicular, is there?
There's plenty wrong with Glenelg at the moment. They're being really tortured almost by the Bulldogs. Again, like last year's grand final when they lost by 36 points. The Doggies just have the answers at the moment. Here's Allen. Chris Gowans has him. Umpire will say, I want the ball. Richard Williams, in case you haven't been with us all day, game number 400 for him, Moggy.
We can see how tight this game has been because in the first half only 3 players had double figures possessions. James Gowans with 13, Braden O'Hara with 10, Luke Panozzo with 12.
Desperate scramble around the ball then. Willoughby smothering the attempt to get it away from there by John O'Griffin. So still game at a stalemate just at the moment, but a stalemate nevertheless dominated to the tune of 23 points by the Central District Football Club. And again, we'll go again. Please, Michael, have a go at clearing it out.
I'll ask Rob a question first. Fisher, Allen, Ruwalt and Murphy, all midfielders. Murphy 6 goals, Ruwalt 9, Allen only 2, Fisher 7. Do they get enough goals from their midfielders?
They probably don't. That's where a guy like Chris Hall has been brought into the club because he is a goal-kicking midfielder. So those guys do a lot of grunt work, a lot of hard work, but don't necessarily push forward and put scoreboard pressure on.
Well, here's Byron Murphy, been cast in the role of a midfielder this year, and he's right on 50. He'll kick into the teeth of the breeze here. Willoughby delivered so well to him. Murphy's kick is a long one. It's got the journey, but it's just away to the right. Good kick by Murphy, but just away. It's a 22-point lead to the Dogs.
Speaking of Adam Fisher, that handball there was just his 4th possession today.
Certainly his low figures for Fisher. He's usually up around the mid-20s by the 3rd quarter, finishing in the 30s. High possession winner having a poor day today.
I tell you, Richard Williams is spot on today. He pinched the bays at the southern end of the ground for just that toe over the line, and now he's done it the same for the Bulldogs at the other end.
He's spot on. It's Richard Williams' day, and he's going to let everybody know about it.
It's the highlight reel tape that he's just going to tuck that away into his archives.
He will. Sibanella, he'll go home tonight and clip those toenails.
Oh dear, Richard Williams. Pretty decent human being. Does a great job. Sibanella. This with a quick clip of the toenails, and he got it out wide. Free kick, too high. Goes to Ruwalt. Ruwalt gives it to Hall. Well, Hall can get a decent piece of this. They're in business. The ball just floats over the back. Oh, there's numbers here for the Bays. McConnell, can he conjure something? Brilliant handball. Panozzo, round the body goal. They're back. The Bays are back. They've kicked 2-1, and the fans know it. And it's back to a 16-point lead to the Doggies.
Well, it's certainly what Glenelg needed in this 3rd quarter. They need to put some scoreboard pressure on. They've had majority of the possession in this 3rd quarter. You can see Chris Hall utilising his long left foot. And McConnell, well, that's his 2nd goal assist. He certainly did feed that one off. He tried to snaffle it. You could see his eyes lit up when he saw the ball spilled free. He thought, here we go, I'm going to get another goal. But he dished it off, and fantastic play for Glenelg.
Having trouble with my adding up today, Neil.
We're on to our 2nd new ball of the afternoon, or 3rd, I suppose. Technically, the 1st one was new as well. That one booted onto the primary school at the southern end, and that one booted out of the ground, that time at the northern end.
And I tell you what, the property stewards hate giving away new balls.
Well, they're 120, 130 bucks each or something these days, aren't they?
Not cheap.
Oh, Hara thumped down, holding the ball. The Bays have lifted. Ruwalt wants the ball, and again, they're just milking the time. As we see here, O'Hara took position, tried to push off, and then whoops, he's in trouble.
They hurt when you're off balance and you get slung to the ground like that, particularly at Glenelg.
Ruwalt directing traffic nicely, sends it wide, and then the kick long from Adlington went to Sibanella. Might have been O'Grady got that kick in, but Sibanella took the mark, and now they'll push it out onto this side of the ground. But Willoughby, oh, he's met hard. You heard the thump. Heavy tackle coming in from Callanan. Ball in the interchange area. That allows Dutchke to slip on for Chris Gowans. McKenzie opposed to Cranston. McKenzie taps it down. Tigers with Kane diving in there. And we'll get another ball up.
It's not till you get close, right down amongst the action, and you see the players running at each other full speed, and you hear that horrible thud, flesh on flesh, and you realise how hard these players are hitting each other.
We'll get you, Chris Kendall, to do the Matthew Lloyd down there for us and just check that breeze, because I think it looks like it might have swung around just a little bit, although the Bay's playing well.
Yeah, it has swung around to a degree, Michael. It's sort of blowing into our faces in the stand more than anything else. Probably only worth about a goal or two, though, but it is going to prove tricky in this final quarter.
It's a free kick and/or mark to Adam Fisher, and just didn't get the ball back in time.
Strangely enough, Centrals have made an art form of that.
They have. Good kick. Grimer threw himself forward. No, you get a free kick. And guess who is going to pay it?
Well, Grimer should go and buy Richard Williams a cup of coffee during the week, because he should have just snaffled that. Now, we'll have a look if the free kick is there or not. You can see there, two hands in the back. The umpire's close, but he still should have taken the mark. Pinpoint pass, leading forward, out in front, easy mark.
How much do you reckon Central's be on a lip to Grimy? You remember in the lead into last year's grand final that, no, I think they're too old, the Bulldogs. We'll do all right.
I think those words, if they get to a grand final, the Centrals are playing in the grand final this year, I don't think Grimy will be allowed anywhere near a TV interview.
There he goes. That's probably one of the worst kicks he's ever had, but Fisher might make it good. There's a midfielder kicking goal.
There we go. Fisher, his 5th possession for the day. Certainly has been low on the stats, Adam Fisher, and that is one of the best helicopters you'll ever see. Even the 4 or 5 Centrals players didn't know what to do. No one wanted to put their hands out and break the fingers on that one, so they pushed the ball forward, and Fisher was just waiting there.
Yes, I think the Centrals defenders are thinking, well, we'll get screws and pins inserted in the fingers, and we might miss
split webbing.
Might miss a final if we're not careful. Game on, 9 points the margin. Callanan with a fresh air. Allen with a great tackle. James Gowans goes to ground, probably says a few words, grumbles to the umpire, surrenders eventually the ball, but not until he's settled himself down.
Well, Roy Laird would expect a response here from his players.
Slade, slung by Murphy. Kick was off balance. Great mark taken by Adlington. Been impressive at times this afternoon as this young lad. Originally from Horsham. Not the greatest of kicks, just carried the pack. Slade pushed off pretty well. McKenzie and Hayes, and then Matt Westhoff. Westhoff, Williams is loose. Cummings shell. Oh, they almost collided. Hand pass wasn't great from Thomas. Adlington was good. Mills with support. Now to Fisher. Fisher was clever. That ball went out. The umpire did eventually see it. Gee, I thought the boundary umpire was unsighted just for a moment.
Well, I reckon it's the 4th time today that the ball has gone in Central's forward 50 and 2 players have collided. Chris Kendall made mention that seems to be a lack of talking amongst Central players today.
Here's O'Sullivan on the left boot. Doggies get one back. They're out by 15. And O'Sullivan on that left boot. It's been a goal kicker for them this year, Chad O'Sullivan. That's goal number 25 for the year. There's the windsock. Yeah, I reckon they need to have a good look at that windsock.
Well, that was just classical roving. You could see Shell getting his hands to the ball, pushing it forward. O'Sullivan on the move. Unfortunately for Adlington, who has been good all day, he wasn't close enough to O'Sullivan on that occasion. O'Sullivan on his left foot kicks his first goal.
Bays need a centre break. They'll get it through Allen. Usually likes to hand pass, no exception this time off to Hall, who was running to his wrong leg. How clever was that? Hall forced a hand pass forward. Luck's of fortune. Ruwalt got it, but now Gowan's the other way. That's James off to Sainsbury. Sainsbury lights it up from outside 50. Into a bit of space, he kicks it. Shell against Mills with support from Kirk. And play on, call the umpire. And what does he call now? It's trapped under him. It's holding the ball. Oh, please tell me how he was supposed to get that ball out, Tony Day.
Well, you very rarely see it in the SANFL. Exactly. You see that in the AFL all the time, but in the SANFL, you're lucky if there's one of these paid every 2 or 3 weeks. You can see there technically, I suppose he did take possession of the ball and fall on it, but how many times today have we seen players do that and it not be called holding the ball?
To stretch the margin back to 21 points, Daniel Shell getting a little bit of a razoo from the crowd, and a bigger one now.
Well, they would say that's justice if you're a Glenelg supporter. Daniel Shell, he's had an interesting day. He just looks like he's on the verge of something. Today, he's been a contributor at full forward, kicking 2 goals, but if you're a full forward that's in really good form, you'd snaffle those goals.
I reckon Tony Day thought there's a bit of theatre in that decision.
Oh,
Everyone
was
waiting.
Indeed.
To the outer side, Allen. Wonderful in-close play to Fisher. Kirkby on the wing. Very quick kick, standing under it. Chris Kane did okay, and then found himself in space. Kane goes with a kick, looking for Panozzo. Too far for him, backing up Sainsbury. Dogs are pretty good. They spread it to Haddon. Haddon and Willoughby. Willoughby's got a bit of pace. He'll get to him now. Haddon's got to get release. He can't. umpire cut him some slack. Then Haddon back again. I thought he laid it on the turf with one hand, and the umpire was right there.
You are spot on. For me, that one there is holding the ball. Let's have a good look at it. Camera's close. He's taken the ball, he's dropped it on the ground, and then he's just punched it forward.
That's the perfect tackle. Button with a perfect spin to O'Grady, whose kick is smothered. Callanan. Left footer. Leading in the race is Kirk. I don't think he'll dive on it. Not after the last time. Tries to keep his feet, and he does. Takes on a couple of tacklers. Daniel Kirk then hits the turf after the umpire blows the whistle. This game's gone up a few notches. The Dogs by 16, and I hope that's right, Neil, because my adding up today has been disgraceful.
Daniel Kirk showing the benefits of his upper body strength as he Callanan drives it in towards the forward 50. It falls to the back. O'Sullivan's got another one. The Dogs are just so good at that. From the stoppage into the forward 50. Well read by O'Sullivan.
Well, all our midfielders and smalls push hard forward to the contest. You can see here Callanan kicks the ball forward. Look at O'Sullivan in the middle of the screen there. He gets front and square, and once again he gets in front of Adlington. I'm sure Mark Micken will send the runner out to him, say, listen, son, you've done a great job so far, but twice now in this quarter you've let Chad O'Sullivan off the hook and you've just given him too much space.
With all that hard work the Bays have done, at the 19 or the 20-minute mark, they trail by the same as they did at half-time, 22 points. And ball caught underneath, and free kick is coming back, and is going to Paul Thomas. Out wide, Westhoff in front. Couldn't take the mark, knocked it to turf. Kirkby went in hard. Fisher fed it out to Kirk. Kirk just stood and delivered. Awkward bounce for Spurs. Got to take on the tackler in Kane, who pushed him in the back. He had a bit of momentum going forward. I think that was there. Spur with a free kick. Finds Laurie. Laurie's a left footer. He'll want to get onto it. He does. Running into space is Williams. And he can go. He can't take the mark. He'll have to kick a pretty good goal here. He can't draw it back. He goes long. Oh, Dutchke's just missed the mark, and it's through from behind. Dogs by 23, and as quick as you can blink, as Neil writes down the score, Murphy has taken the mark, and Ruwalt's off.
Ruwalt spreads it wide, looking for Chris Kane. He trapped it pretty well, had to use the 1-2 for Cranston. Cranston did well to get his hands free and give it back to Chris Kane, who ran pretty hard, got it to Willoughby. Willoughby was good off the left foot. It carries, no it doesn't. Callanan got there in front of Allen. And now he gets a return head pass from Goodrum, and Callanan, I should say, gets it down to Williams at half forward again. Mules shuts him down pretty well. Over the top for O'Sullivan. Block left his man. Chris Scowens ended up with it. Callanan is gone. Wait on that. Umpire says no. Now, to me, got the ball, felt the magic behind him and thought, I'm diving forward.
I'm diving forward and I don't want to get rid of the ball.
Bays win the stoppage through Murphy. To Ruwalt. To Ben Kane. Willoughby tries to ship it off. Ends up with the ball. Was he taken high? Umpire said yes. Threw the head back gallantly. Play on. Here's what the Bays want to do. Ruwalt goes long. The target, Panozzo, couldn't take it off the fingers. He'll get rode by O'Grady. He goes back into Panozzo, and then he tried to give it to O'Grady, missed it. Clever from Goodrum. Chris Gowan good. Sainsbury can go to O'Sullivan over the top. Fakes it off. Adlington gets him in the air, goes to the corridor. Here's Dutchke. Dutchke straight down and misses Shell badly. Kirk will rebound it for the Bays.
Mills needs to hit a target here. Doesn't like what he sees down the flank and goes back inboard to Kane. A man's on his own on the outer side. Does he see him? Mills has got plenty of space and delivers to him. It slows down a touch. Good push by Glenelg and then a push back by the Dogs in this quarter. McConnell at half back. We don't see that too often. Kicks inboard, has to be okay to Mules, who makes it safe. A couple of runners flanking him. Goes in short. O'Grady's worked hard. Was back at the contest in the forward pocket a few moments ago, O'Grady. Goes out wide. The kick's okay. And finds Lucas Block. One of those borderline players. Block. Got a good piece of that. 3-on-1 here. Cranston doing the roving was Allen. McConnell. I thought he might have won a free kick there, McConnell. His eyes were for the footy. Then got a clip on the ear, but then the umpire said no. Let's ball it up. Almost 24 minutes gone. A lot of players around the football. Mackenzie, Fisher slung out of the way. Spurs got the footy, and the umpire will ball it up. Time ticking away.
Just for the sake of the umpires, might mention that frees this stage in 19 each.
About 8 bad decisions for each side. Inconsistency sometimes, I reckon. As the ball trapped in again. Well, somehow it came back. Adlington from a step. Got it on line. Does he get the distance? Doesn't need it. Well done by Panozzo. Call play on. Hayes slams him into the ground. Umpire said it was touched in flight. And yes, in case you're wondering, that's Richard Williams, the umpire officiating there. Bounce it near the line. We're going to see it knocked through for a behind. No, we're not. Goodrum eventually walks it over. Just have another look. Just the ball off the boot. Desperate dive there. Just the touch. Well taken by Panozzo. Hayes was prepared to concede it.
Here's Laurie at half-back. Kicks to the wing. Not a good kick. 2-on-1 there with Mules and O'Grady up against Ryan Williams. Boundary throw in. Cranston. There's umpire Richard. Well, it's been all about Richard today. Up goes Cranston and hits it to the line. They're within 22 points coming into the last quarter. They trail by 20 at quarter time, the Bays. They do have that breeze, but as Chris Kendall mentioned, Rob, it's not blowing quite as strongly for this last quarter.
Well, you'd expect that Mick and May make a change or two in the last quarter, considering they do have whatever breeze advantage there is. They may need, particularly around the stoppages, to try to get a third man up and try to get one of their quicker players to bolt forward. Just break the game up, see if they can create some scoreboard pressure.
I think they're in it if they can get a late one in this quarter. Taken by Fisher. Fisher's kick. Oh, Kirkby got a nudge. Surely it's a free kick, and it will be. He's been pretty good today, Kirkby. I've liked his work rate. Been right on it. Even though his hands haven't quite been so good, but he's worked pretty hard. He finds Cranston, and he's held up by Thomas. No 25-metre penalty. They've been good on that. He feeds it back to Ben Kane. He goes into the pocket to Panozzo. You know, a lot of Bulldogs there in packs. Griffin, just a fumble, lost the football, fed out the back to Spur. And the doggies are out of trouble. Spur's half-distance kick is pretty awkward. Here's Fisher. Feeds it back to Ben Kane. Ben Kane might look corridor and he'll find Kirk. And Kirk will take the mark.
Quickly back off the mark to give it to Willoughby. The ruckman, or the bigger player, preferring to have it in the hands of a little player. Kick from Willoughby wasn't too bad, except it's on the arc of 50 and just a bit more, and it's wide out.
Centrals have flooded mass numbers back in late in this third quarter, back into the forward 50 of Glenelg.
Set up, take a fly. Who wants it? Oh, block almost got it. Fisher with the rove. Slade the other way, Willoughby now. Umpire still calling play on. O'Grady has it. He's been grabbed, and the umpire says, we'll have a ball up.
Well, the tackling from both teams, in particular Centrals, has certainly been a highlight of today's game.
Well, they succeeded in holding the play up, Central District. They'll kick into the breeze, and it is a fair breeze in the last quarter. And at three-quarter time, they hold the advantage. 11-9-75, the Bulldogs. The Tigers, 7-11-53.
Well, once again, we saw the momentum shift in that third quarter. Glenelg started very well, certainly kicked first 2 goals into the third quarter and played particularly well. Had a lot of the ball, but then Centrals just pounced in that third quarter, and it started with this guy here, Scott Dutchke. He kicked his 4th goal. He's been a fantastic player in the forward line for Centrals. Connell, we've mentioned him on several occasions. He was brought into the game, started on the bench, brought into the game halfway through the first quarter. He's kicked 2 goals to himself, and he set a couple up. We spoke about Fisher. That was his 5th possession for today. Certainly very low stats for a player of his quality. And O'Sullivan, that was the first of 2 for the third quarter for O'Sullivan. You can see here, this is the second one. Ball long into the forward line, got front and square, kicked the ball on and finished with an easy goal.
And for all their good work in that quarter, the Tigers, they still trail by the same margin as at half-time. 22 points in favour of the Bulldogs, and they really have put up a sterling performance again, the Bulldogs, in game number 1,000 for them. Scott Dutchke, you mentioned, with 4 goals. Cullen and O'Sullivan and Shell with 2 each, and only Justin McConnell up forward giving a helping hand to the Tigers' goal scoring.
Well, if you have a look at the statistics, the inside 50s, you can see they're in favour of Glenelg, 37-28, but unfortunately haven't put the scoreboard pressure on. Apart from that, the statistics have pretty much been the same, and they've both had very similar scoring shots. Glenelg, just no scoreboard pressure.
We talked about 1,000 games for the Central District Football Club. Well, let's journey back in that 1,000 games to a game I'm sure the Bulldogs remember well. It was the 2008 Grand Final. We thought Glenelg going in every chance of upsetting the Doggies' fabulous run. Wasn't to be. Let's have a look at how it all unfolded.
The umpire holds the ball aloft. Good bounce. Cranston attacks the footy. Comes out now. Blockley first there. Kicks it inside 50 down towards Dolding. Goodrum's there. Holds the ball up. Tries to get rid of it now. Tap forward. Comes out now towards the Doggies in Cochrane. Kicks members side of the ground. It's going to be a foot race.
Still nobody comes at him. Lucas Block delivering long, looking for Kurt. At the back, what a great mark.
Now Ware kicks long down there looking for Westhoff. He's got the sick. Can he take the mark? He can't, but he's good enough to pick up the footy around the corner. It's going to bounce, and it's bounced through for a goal. Shell now, pulled the play on, kicks inside forward 50. They set themselves down there looking for Giles. He couldn't take the mark. Great work there by Murphy. His handball was smothered. Now towards Cullinan on the right boot, around the corner. It's going all the way. Have a look at that.
He can line up for goal from 50, Thomas. Instead, he chooses to go to Matty Westhoff. Got a good bounce. Clever with the kick. Forward line open. Slade. Snap. Slade. Here they come again, the Dogs. Dutchke. Couldn't take it. Shell. Chance. Can't get the kick away. Got it back to Goodrum.
He's got Cullinan inside forward 50 on his own. Goes in that direction, he can play on. He does so, handball over top to McKenzie from the goal square. And Buckets has kicked a goal.
I'm Troy Sachs. Come and support us, the Rollers, as we battle the best of the best at Sydney Olympic Park. See Australia take on Canada, Great Britain and Japan as 4 of the top 5 teams on the planet slug it out at the Rollers World Challenge from July 29th to August 1st. Be there and see why nobody pushes us around.
The Rollers World Challenge Wheelchair Basketball starts Wednesday, ABC 2.
22 points the margin at three-quarter time here with Glenelg. Everything to do in the last quarter. Chris Kendall is down on the boundary. And Chris, you've been listening at the huddles. I'm very curious to know the Tigers do need a spark. Where's it going to come from?
Oh, they're pretty positive down here, as a matter of fact. Neil, they did hammer home the point of that last quarter for Centrals last week. 5 goals to 1 behind. Mark Micken feels that can be a real catalyst for them to run right over the top of the Central side in this last quarter. They're encouraging them to really keep their feet with the tackling more than anything else. Mark Micken mentioned that they have lost their feet in the tackles a couple of times. Very important that they keep their composure and just back themselves and really run.
Well, let's see if they can follow that as we look forward to next week in round 18. Now, that's a very interesting clash. North Adelaide and Sturt could well decide which side will finish third and get that double chance.
Third playing fourth. I'm certainly looking forward to that game, and I think the top five are almost set at the moment. It just depends on where they're going to finish in that top five.
Port Central, West Panthers and Glenelg Norwood, the other matches to look forward to in the SANFL next weekend. And where are we going to get a winner from this afternoon? Well, the Bays, I suppose you have to be positive if you're Mark Micken. That's what you do. You, as a coach, say, look, we can do this.
Well, you give them every opportunity if they can get the ball out into the free and get their runners on the, onto the end of the ball. But if Centrals hold the ball up in the stoppages, good luck.
Centrals are experts at it. Let's go to the final quarter. Michael Maney.
Well, the Bays have won 20 of their last 21 home games. They're under threat here today, and they need a big last quarter to blow the Dogs out of the water. And don't forget, in that Anzac Day game earlier in the season, Daniel Havelberg, he booted 5 in the last quarter. They come over pretty hard, the Dogs, although they only booted a couple of goals last week, and they just fell in against the Eagles. Plenty to go on in this final term. O'Hara, a bit of a bear hug there. And who's the player? Is that Ruwalt? It is. Getting up. A couple of quick goals will put a bit of a scare through the Dogs' camp if the Bays can get there. Slade, experienced, thought he copped it in the back. That's fair enough. Advantage paid. Away goes Thomas. Left footer floats. Who can take a mark? They all fly. Ben Kane's been pretty handy. Couldn't get it then. Crowd calls ball. Umpire said no. He made every attempt to get the handball away. And this young Adlington, who, as Neil mentioned, I thought his game today has been pretty good. Third man up was Shell, only as far as Fisher. Standing start, Grimer took it on the chest. He likes to do that. Feeds it away to Ruwalt, who ran into a brick wall. Lucky enough to get it to O'Grady. The handball to Murphy was okay. His handball to Hall. He collected it well. Hall goes with a left footer. They'll hope for a mark down here. McConnell pushes his man in Goodrum. Didn't give away a free kick. Back to Kirkby from the impossible angle. Kirkby, will he do the team thing? Yes, he will. Ben Kane stands 15 metres out, almost directly in front.
Well, once again, McConnell did enough to get the ball free to Kirkby, and McConnell is now being isolated at full forward. You saw Toddy Grimer push up the ground to the wing to take possession of the ball when it came out of defence. They're trying to isolate McConnell.
This to make it 17 points. Ben Kane, good kick. They are a big chance. They needed that first goal of the last quarter.
Well, it gives them some confidence at the start of the last quarter, knowing full well they've got the breeze at the back. You can see McConnell pushed his opponent, direct opponent Goodwin, out of the play, got his hands on the ball, dished it off, did the team thing to Kirkby, and Kirkby had a quick peek at the goals, but then out of the corner of his eye, saw he had two of his teammates standing free alone, and one of them was Kane, who's been a fantastic recruit and a very good contributor in today's game.
He's the top ball getter on the ground today. That was his 17th possession. Byron Murphy's had 16, James Gowan's 15, Luke Panozzo 14, and the rest not many.
Cranston out of the middle.
That. It's good.
They needed a centre break, Glenelg. They've trailed 10-6 in the centre breaks this afternoon. The Bays, who are priding themselves on their stoppage work, have been found out a little by the kings of the game in Central District.
Well, you'd just like to see one of the Glenelg players go third man up, just change it, get a bit of variation there, try to punch the ball forward or laterally.
Well, they've got the ball slightly forward. Ruwalt with a tackle on Cochrane. Umpire will come in, separate the warring parties and go at it again. The interesting thing out of this, though, is if either side's able to break away forward of the play, there is a lot of space. Adlington did well. Intercepted ahead of Dutchke, thumped it long. Kirkby was the target. Laurie did well. McConnell a chance, runs out of room. Bays fans flooding the terraces this afternoon. They're a little concerned at their side, and so they should be. They've trailed for most of the afternoon. So the ball, again, as we've seen a lot this afternoon, bobbling around in a stoppage and then Umpire comes in to bounce it, Tony Day, in this particular case.
Inside the forward 50 for Glenelg, these stoppages, once again, just need a bit of variation. Spread out, try to not have as many numbers around the ball, because basically at the end of the day, the umpire is going to call a free kick. That's the only way you can see a goal being scored out of these stoppages.
The Doggies won't mind as many stoppages as possible, because Mackenzie's just trying to keep the ball at his feet. Cochrane to half-back, running hard. Thomas need to get a handball over the top to O'Hara, who can run. Wobbly old kick, not one of his best, but Sainsbury's there, couldn't collect. Good pressure from Mules. Wonderful player, Mules, just knows where to get his body and put the pressure on Sainsbury. Boundary throwing.
Mules has been good for Glenelg. Sainsbury's been interesting as well. He's bobbed up on occasions.
I think we expect a fair bit from him. He's a very handy player. Chris Gowns played for the free kick, nothing doing. Here's Fisher, head over the ball. O'Hara takes on the tackler. Hall's got him. Ball locked in, another bounce, another stoppage, 5 minutes gone. The only goal of the final quarter to Ben Kane at the 2-minute mark to draw them 17 points to within 17 points. Mackenzie, once again, just knocking it down to his feet and creating another stoppage.
Players will be very tired after this fixture, you'd think. Richard O'Grady very slow to get up there. Mackenzie down to Slade, barrelled it towards the boundary line. Umpire said, of course, that wasn't deliberate. From the middle of the pack, I don't think it was, actually, but...
Well, the interesting part about today's game, Neil, is the players certainly will be taxed in terms of the body-on-body pressure. Hasn't been a lot of hard gut running, but there's been a number of body clashes. It's been hard, in tight, in under the packs.
Chris Gowans, great battle. The likes of Gowans with Allen and Block. Kane and Callanan going together. Shorthand pass. And Kane, oh gee, I thought he got away with one there just for a second. Byron Murphy, the ball slipping off his hand as he tried to hand pass to Ben Kane. And then Kane holding the ball out, but well and truly behind the boundary line. And fortunately, the boundary umpire noticed it. Chris Gowans, brilliant. After Griffin, drives it long. The ball gets over the back and they're in trouble, but no, the Bays force it forward. Now Sainsbury, spur from the boundary line, just sent it up. Kirk should take it, spilled what he should have taken. Dutchke pounces, got the hand pass into a bit of space. Sainsbury's pretty good in this situation. Got it off to Gowans. Oh, the Dogs are excellent in this situation. And Slade kicks the goal.
Well, it was hard yards. Find a player that was free, but Central's just kept working the ball, dishing it off, finding a player who didn't have as much pressure. That ultimately ended up with Slade. Dutchke grabbed hold of the football. Sainsbury had hold of the ball, looked up. Same with Gowers, had a look at goals. Then they heard the call from Slade out back. Slade off one step, threw it onto his boot. It was a nice drop punt considering he still was under a fair bit of pressure.
How important the drop mark from Kirk. Really should have snavelled that. The Dogs make you pay every time. So a goal apiece in this last quarter. Hayes, spur, tries to draw a man, runs out of space. He'll have to concede. Well, they didn't do that too well, the Doggies. You can do that in SANFL football.
Well, considering he's only played 19 games, Lee Spur, he was quite relaxed, quite composed.
Actually went home to Brisbane in the off-season, decided to quit the club after winning the best and fairest in the reserves last season. Lee Spur spent a fortnight in Brisbane and decided, you know what, I'm going to give it another go. Gave Roy Laird a ring, and now he's been a prominent force for them in the back line this season, Spur. Gee, there was a contest there and hadn't met it. And falling away off the ball was Hall. So the ball trapped, 20 metres out.
Certainly both players had eyes for the ball, and then at the split second there, just before impact, braced, saw the direct opponent coming full force at each other.
The ball's not coming out of there in a hurry, or slowly, or in any way. So we'll get another ball up. The Bays tried a third man up that time, but it was almost like Kirkby was joining the waltz. He just came in slowly from the side and tried to outreach the other two ruckmen. That's not going to work, Rob.
It certainly is, and considering there's some 14 players or 13 players of Glenelg around the ball, they just need to open it up, spread wide.
Doggies win it away. Hayes gave it to Thomas, went wide. Kirk with great reach over the top. Slade at the front though. Haddon went down to half forward, just into space. Oh gee, it looked like he was being held onto the base player there, but it came to Fisher. They work it pretty well. Panozzo with a great hand pass for Mules. This side of the ground, it's Panozzo. So it wasn't in the pack, Panozzo, but now he's got space to work with. Kirkby signals, give it to me. Panozzo with good pace. Was he tripped? Umpire said yes. O'Hara was desperate, but there's no doubt he tapped the ankle on the way through.
It's an interesting one, that one there. That's a deliberate trip, and I think you can be reported for that, and certainly 50 metres is what the players, Glenelg players, were asking for.
Well, that has been clarified these days. Yes, a deliberate trip by hand is punishable by a report. So Panozzo will have to carry this ball 60 metres. He is a very good kick, and that hasn't helped the distance. Chris Gowan's doing some excellent work on the mark. Hall can't release the ball in there. He did somehow smuggle it to Fisher, and what a surprise, the Doggies close it up again.
Very good at tackling the Doggies, very good at pinning arms, making sure the direct opponents can't release the ball.
Bays need the next goal, then they need another to be in it, because the Doggies can close you down. Slade will want the line, and happy to see it there.
Boys, I know the windsock's still moving a fair bit, but I can tell you at ground level it's nowhere near as strong as it was in the first three quarters.
I sensed that in the third quarter, Chris, and even though that's swirling away there, that windsock. Cranston beautifully down to Kirkby. James Gowans to Goodrum. Goodrum with a very, very smart kick out of bounds, and the umpire says you disguised it pretty well.
The umpire will never pay that in the SANFL. I know the umpires are directed only to pay that if they kick the ball backwards. If they're still going forward, they'll never pay it, even if it is deliberate.
Cranston down. And a stalemate again. This is just playing into the hands of the Doggies. There's a lovely family there. Look at that. Family competition. Good to see the families out watching SANFL footy. Plant taken to ground. Another stoppage.
Well, there's 9 Glenelg players around this stoppage, and there's 2 on the outside. Still too many. You need 3 or 4 around a stoppage inside your forward 50. Take your direct opponent to a dangerous spot. Sit in the corridor. Try to spread it out. Otherwise, you're just playing into Central's hands.
Well, they're just prepared to take a risk, I guess. If they go away from the stoppage and the Dogs have more numbers, it doesn't seem to help them at the moment if they have got even numbers. Callanan gave it to Sainsbury, who lost a little bit of grip on the turf. Now they've surrendered it. Umpire has spotted a free kick. It was dropping the ball, and so Willoughby will take it. Haddon thought he was away then, and Willoughby has been desperate. Hall's a very long kick. Haven't seen the best of Hall this afternoon in terms of his leg, or for that matter, his hand skills.
Well, he had a shot on the opposite side of the ground in the second quarter. A little closer. I think this may be beyond him in terms of distance.
Was on Port Adelaide's AFL list. Played with South Adelaide and Subiaco in the WAFL. Grimer at the back. Oh, gee, I thought he'd snuck that home. Wait on the umpire.
Yeah, look at this.
It was a quick kick at the ball, and the goal is ruled. I reckon Tony Day gave that one, because the goal umpire was about to signal. I thought it was touched, and he consulted with Tony Day, and he said no, it wasn't, and Grimer gets one out of his proverbial, if you don't mind.
A much needed one. You are spot on there, Crossy. It certainly was Tony Day that ruled that in favour of Glenelg. You can see the ball there basically ricocheted off the knee of Grimer, and that is a controversial goal, a very lucky one if you're a Glenelg fan.
Might it be just the tonic for the Bays? They creep a bit closer. O'Sullivan with the tackle. And the centre clearance so important. Moggy.
Since quarter time, both sides have kicked 7 goals. Centrals have been inside 50 18 times, Glenelg 35.
Yeah, efficiency. Amazing. The Dogs so efficient when they go inside their forward 50. Button in the ruck. Griffin gets rid of him, taken by James Gowans. Caught with the ball. Murphy went without it. It will be pinged, James Gowans. Comes back to Ruwalt or Hall in a bit of trouble. Good peripheral vision. Saw Shell coming. Spread it out wide, looking for Mules. Sainsbury ducked it back cleverly to Williams, but Williams just gave it to Willoughby. Good pressure by the Bays. They're on the move here. Willoughby's kick is okay to Kirkby. One way from goal. He's up against Laurie. The Kirkby kick to Grimer. Can't take the contested mark. Umpire said play on. Dutchke. This kicks out wide. Good bounce for Murphy. He's got to shake the Sainsbury tackle. How did he get rid of that? Mills, the 216s. Thomas gets Mills. Away to Murphy. Over the top to Mules. Mules waits for Kirk. He'll have to get rid of it. He boots it long. It's just inside 50, backing off. No mark taken. That was Grimer. Couldn't hold on to it. Kirkby there. And the Bays keep pushing. Was this a goal? What's your decision? Another angle of it. Look at his knee. Did it come off his knee? I think he's fooled everybody.
Bays again, just trying to break the ball open, into the open. Umpire Tony Day comes in quickly. Griffin and young Button already grappling before the umpire had even thought about throwing it up. Great hand pass out. It might have been from Ruwalt. The kick wasn't great. O'Grady turns it over to Hayes, who can go short to Gowans, who's O'Grady's opponent at the moment. James Gowans just stumbles, takes his time in front of Snouts Louts there on the hill. They give him what for? I don't think it's going to affect James Gowans. In fact, I'm sure he's just holding up the ball to get a bit more abuse. Umpire let it go. Gowans down the line, kicks it out of the full. Maybe it did affect him.
He'd love that, though. He would. Well, I reckon you're spot on, Crossy. I reckon he was playing up to the crowd, but he got a little bit too smart for himself.
Button now. Needs his kick to be on the button. And it is. O'Grady quickly back off the mark. Central's flooding all but 3 players inside defensive 50. Big leap required here. Couple of touches. Central's got 3 over the ball. Nobody's trying to get it out, and the umpire blew the whistle. And I reckon they had a good case there, the Bays. If that had been let go for a few more seconds, I don't think one of the 3 was trying to get the ball out. Another stoppage. Hall involved. He's lifted in the final quarter. He needed to.
Mark Micken on the phone. Would know exactly what to do in this situation. Can his players do it? Laurie's kick, run down, taken by Thomas, who want to keep it wide. Sandridge in front. Fed it off back to Thomas. His kick, looking for Westhoff, who's just been a non-event this afternoon. Hasn't had too much of it. Away it goes to Allen. Willoughby to Hall. Hall ducks around. He might just kick a goal here. Chris Hall. He goes for home and hits the woodwork. I think they needed that one to go through. 14 points, the margin.
Well, they know who to give the ball to. He's a fine user of the ball. You can see on that occasion, nice little sidestep, sold the dummy. Central's player bought it, but unfortunately just couldn't finish off with the goal.
Left footer caught not quite on line to be able to straighten up, I reckon. Kirkby from the back couldn't take it. Follows up on the ground, dumps Chris Gowans. Play on calls the umpire.
Unfortunately for Glenelg, every ball up and every stoppage, seconds get wasted in this game.
Well, it's interesting to note too that it does eat away seconds in the SANFL. When the ball goes out, yes, time stops, but not when there's a stoppage for just a bounce around the ground. Baser turned it over inside 50. O'Grady towards the line, somehow got a kick out. Umpire said that was off the boot, ricocheted, but bounced from O'Hara.
Was it out on the full?
No.
It certainly wasn't.
Button been thrown into the ruck. Hall won't get there before they run out of room. Spur with the tackle.
The Centrals are just shutting down space all over the ground, boys. As you can see, only 2 players in the Centrals half of the ground.
And way down at full forward, Mules, and he's been taken out of the ground, out of the game by Williams this afternoon. Williams normally across half back. is standing inside forward 50 for a change for Centrals.
Well, this is where you want a guy like Rory Kirkby to go third man up, get free, punch the ball into the corridor, put the ball into space.
Gee, I tell you, training must be so much fun for the Bulldogs out there. They'd be doing this night in, night out, week in, week out, to be drilled to do this sort of stuff in stoppages.
Just like old Glenn McGrath, you know, bowling in the nets, isn't it? Just, where's
Line
that
and length.
spot? Let me just hit it. Oh, I hit it again. Oh, there you go. I hit it again. There it is. No one up there. Just a couple of players just looking on as mere spectators. Fisher was the third man up then, or the fourth man up, whatever way you want to take it. No free kick to the base. Player just got forced forward, and it'll be another ball up. Time ticking away, about to get into time on. 20 minutes. The quarters have only been going 25 and 27 minutes. We haven't had too many goals. Opportunity for Fisher. Here's Willoughby. Can he find space? Pretty difficult. Not much grass out there. Hall, his kick is a floater. And Shell, who plays full forward, takes the mark in defensive 50.
Well, it was a poor kick. He had 4 players to kick the ball to. Shell was smack bang in the middle, and he's picked out Shell.
Yeah, and we wrap him for his kicking. And he let us down. Shell out wide to Spur, and that's out on the full, is it? It is. Maybe another chance for the Bays to load it up. McConnell will be the man to get the free.
I think when you talk about a lot of players to kick the ball to, Hall had too many options there.
Getting around McConnell, short kick, too far for Kirkby, over the back to Spur, by hand this time to Slade, back to Cochrane, Cochrane's floating kick, Grimer just waited for it to bounce. Adlington couldn't get it. Grimer flicked it up. Chris Gowans couldn't get it. Murphy. Here's Hall. Can he find space? Allen over the top. Here we go. The kick is long. Is it straight? It's away. And that was young Plant, I think, who got that kick away.
Well, once again, Glenelg having plenty of options or plenty of opportunities to actually put some real scoreboard pressure on, but unfortunately they're failing in that part of their game. They haven't gone inside their forward 50 that well. Either the kicks have been poor or they haven't kicked straight in front of goal.
Into time on in the last quarter. O'Hara with the ball again, designated kicker. Cranston with the thumb forward. Chris Gowans, was he taken high? Umpire said play on. Cochrane, down the line he goes. Well taken by Mules, took the chance, played on. Inside 50 was Panozzo. And Gito's good work by Mules to find his former schoolmate, actually, in Panozzo.
Panozzo just had a look inboard. He had McConnell floating free, thought about giving the ball to him. It would have been a dangerous kick. I think he has chosen the correct and the best option.
If he doesn't kick this, they don't win. Oh, they have no chance of winning.
Fair call.
Panozzo have to start it on the left post, does so, does it hold the line? No.
Rightio, Michael, I think we should wrap up proceedings then, according to you.
Just a hunch. Well, the Dogs just know how to suffocate a game when they're in front.
Inside 50 this quarter, 14-2.
You can see Glenelg have had plenty of opportunities inside their forward 50, but just unfortunately they haven't put scoreboard pressure on in terms of kicking goals. Kicking 15 points in any game compared to 9 goals is just not good enough. If you're a coach, you'd be pretty disappointed with it so far.
Slade at half back. We just know how to wind that clock down. As I said, we're about to tick into 23 minutes. Quarters have gone barely 27. There's only been 3 goals kicked. Big pack of players. Shell can't mark. O'Grady, quick hands to Ruwalt, who hoists it high. Knocked away by Laurie, taken by Goodrum. Dogs are away. Haddon, 1 bounce, a second. He can go a long way here, Lewis Haddon. No one coming to him. Deciding to come off the line was Mules. That just left the man in Williams open. Now Williams goes in short. Not a good kick. This leaves it for Hall. Hall gets it back to Grimer. So a turnover. Grimer's got a man in an acre of space on the outer side in Willoughby. Now Willoughby thought about a bounce. Decided to pump long. O'Grady's in the box seats. Paid the mark. Oh, he might just get it taken off him too. Umpire Richard Williams doing a bit of play acting now. He's one of the Gowans boys, is it?
Well, not smart from Richard O'Grady.
No.
Gowans complaining that he should have had that reversed, but O'Grady has the ball almost directly in front, just on a slight angle, 35 out. Don't cough it up now.
Well, This to bring them within 6 points. O'Grady must kick it, and does. They're alive. Just.
Well, it's great playing the back arm by firstly Chris Hall, just to push numbers back. Flick the ball up to Grimer. Grimer had plenty of options, chose the longest option on the ground, and that was the correct option. And you can see there, well, there's a bit of play acting there, but no need for that when you've got possession of the ball.
6 points the margin. In the proud history of Central District, they've never had a draw against the Bays. Crucial centre takeaway. McConnell with the chance. He just overran it. Slade was in there, so was McKenzie. Players desperate, McKenzie lying on it. Umpire says, give it to me. Cross 25 minutes in this final quarter. McKenzie, again, just let the ball drop at his feet. Hadn't cleared it away. Murphy did well, tried the other M. And it was Mills who forced it out to him. And now, loose in front of goal, McConnell. Another M. Great work from Willoughby.
It's fantastic work by Josh Willoughby. Firstly to present, take the mark, and then turn straight away and play on.
This to level the scores. And the Enigma levels the scores on the siren. A draw. A draw at the Bay. The first time that Glenelg has drawn ever with the Dogs. In game number 1000 for the Central District Footy Club. Who would have thought it?
Well, it's quite unbelievable, really, to think that McConnell, he didn't want to wait. He obviously had a hunch the siren was going to go. He got on with that pretty quickly. And the Glenelg players just started to get excited. Then they realised the siren went. The Central's players have all looked around at each other and gone, it's a draw. How did we let that one slip?
They led by 20 points at quarter time, 22 at the half and 22 at three-quarter time, the Dogs. They all but shut it down in the last quarter. Here is the mark from Willoughby kicking to McConnell, unchecked, 35 metres out. And Justin McConnell, as you saw there, quick to get on with the game, needed to kick the goal. And perhaps he just wanted to get back to the centre and maybe get another clearance, but it wasn't to be. Try picking a best on ground out of that.
Well, it certainly will be difficult, but I'll tell you what, both teams need to be given an enormous amount of credibility for playing such a game of football.
One of the tough nuts from the Dogs in Scott Dutchke is at ground level with Chris Kendall.
Look, a bit of a hollow feeling down here, I suppose, Scott. I mean, 4 goals from yourself, a fantastic game, but a bit of a nothing result at the end in some ways.
Yeah, no, it's, you know, we sort of didn't put the pressure on the last there. You know, we had the first 3 good quarters. Got away from us at the end there. Should have put more pressure on. Bit more goal-scoring pressure.
I guess last week, I suppose, you had that fade out also against the Eagles. Is it a bit of a last quarter thing, you think, perhaps, for Central?
Look, you know, we just got to work on it. Just keep going. You know, it's been happening a few weeks now. It's, you know, we've sort of put an emphasis on it this week. We just got to keep pushing. We've got to find that bloody extra effort in the last quarter and bloody push on these days.
Look, you still get the point for yourselves, and these teams have fought out some fantastic battles at the end of it. You guys will be there in September. I reckon you'll meet these guys at least once more.
Yeah, probably. We'll get back at them then, eh?
Certainly will. Thanks very much, Scotty.
Scotty Dutchke doing well to express some of the disappointment of a draw. There is that dull feeling, I guess, when you come away with a draw, but I love it. I think it's great. Why not?
Well, as a spectator, you do. As a player and as a coach, it certainly leaves a hollow feeling. I think Richmond, North Melbourne had that feeling not too long ago, and one of the coaches certainly said that they felt quite hollow afterwards.
Back down to Chris, and he's got one of the Tigers with him in Ben Kane.
Yeah, certainly do. Ben Kane down here. Look, Ben, it's a bit of a strange one, I suppose. You get the point at the end of the game, and you came back really well. You've got to take some good signs out of that.
Definitely, it is a strange feeling, but I mean, you look at our score. was it 11-15. Cost us a bit last week as well, so it's just something we've got to improve on a bit. And yeah, we can take a lot of confidence out of that. Yeah, we know we're good enough, and just kick a bit straighter, and we should have won the game really.
Mark Micken said at three-quarter time to keep in mind their last quarter last week. They only kicked 1 point, and they ran right over the top of them, the Eagles. That was the same sort of philosophy you took today.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, Robbers made that point during the week, and yeah, we took a lot of confidence out of that at three-quarter time, just to know back our fitness in, and yeah, hopefully run over them. And if we had kicked a bit straighter, yeah, we might have done it. So, but we'll take confidence out of that, and yeah, look forward to the next clash with them.
You'll certainly see them again in September, I'd say. Look, bit of an unusual one, no club song, but you get to go and have a chat now to the fans.
Yeah, definitely. Cheers for that.
Thanks, Ben.
Ben Kane there, as I said, I love the draw. In fact, I coached my son's team this morning, year 4 side, and if they'd got one more goal, they would have got a draw, and I would have been happy with that as a coach, believe me.
Close all round. Well, I think from a player's point of view, if you just have a look at the two players interviewed, Dutchke and Kane, Dutchke was disappointed. I reckon Centrals would be pretty disappointed with that. Glenelg, they know they've got out of jail, almost. They got a draw, so they get 1 point. It's better than none. But from their point of view, I reckon they're quite upbeat, and Kane certainly sounded like it. They just needed to kick a little straighter in front of goal, and they thought they would have come home with the 2 points.
Would have been interesting to know what Mark Micken had told his players then, but now they're unbeaten in their last 10 games. The Bays, that would be 9 wins, and of course the draw, and their last loss to Centrals in round 5, which today equates to an 84-point turnaround because they lost by that margin on Anzac Day.
It certainly is, and you can see the crowd and the spectators there showing their appreciation of the team. Glenelg didn't necessarily play nice football, and I thought in particular when they went inside the forward 50 they were disappointing, but they hung in there, they stuck to their game plan, they did what they thought they needed to do to win, and unfortunately they didn't get the win, but it almost feels like a win for them, and you can see the spectators, they certainly feel like it's a win.
Yeah, well, to come from 22 points down at three-quarter time against the Doggies outfit that's run riot through the SANFL for the past decade, it's never easy. They are pros, the Central District Bulldogs, and they showed that this afternoon, the way they shut down the game. And as you said, you know, you almost expected they were going to win it because that's the style of footy they love, and it's the style of footy they do very well. As we just look through just what unfolded this afternoon, certainly there were fits and starts in this game, and Glenelg at times looked like they were capable of a big score, but the Doggies never let them get away.
Certainly the momentum shifts were extreme, and you saw them in each quarter. Dutchke and Callanan, first 2 players to kick goals for Centrals, were prominent early in the game. It wasn't until that guy there, McConnell, was brought onto the ground about 15-minute mark of the first quarter that Glenelg kicked their first goal, but he was very good, particularly in the first half. He had a quiet second half, but he certainly showed that he's got enormous amount of skills. See there, Dutchke, they didn't have a lot of tall forwards taking marks, both teams in the forward line, but they had their smaller players kicking goals. McConnell kicked 2 goals, Dutchke 4. You can see here Chris Hall's another one of those midfielders that can push forward, has predominantly played his career as more of a forward than a midfielder. That's due to his, I suppose, lack of engine. He hasn't got a huge engine, but he's got great skills. That's why they like him in the forward lines. You can see this one here. Well, Michael Marnie called it a lucky bounce, but Sainsbury gave himself every opportunity just by charging at the ball.
And that's what the Dogs do so well, isn't it? I mean, they are drilled, they are hard drilled and hardwired, if you like, to have those stoppages, to force players up the ground and force stoppage after stoppage. And when they break hard, and they get the opportunity to kick goals like that. On the other hand, the Bays, as we talked about earlier this afternoon, they are ranked 9th for kicks and 1st for handballs in the competition, but number 1 for efficiency. So they work the ball in tight with the hands and sweep it forward.
Yeah, they certainly do. They haven't been great in front of goal this year, Glenelg, and that sort of form continued today. They've certainly had some opportunities to kick majors, but unfortunately they kicked points. You can see here some nice play by Kirkby. It was smart. He didn't need to kick the ball as a left footer on the angle. He had Kane, who was interviewed after the game, and certainly was upbeat. He had Kane free. Got tight there in the last quarter. Centrals really worked hard to score that goal.
And in fact, the only goal of last quarter for Centrals.
Was.
Yeah, in fact, Moggy will tell us just how many times Centrals went into the into the forward 50 in that last quarter.
Yeah, 3 to the Bay 17.
There you go.
And you can see that goal there was controversial. I don't know if we've heard the last of that goal, but it looked like it came off the knee of Toddy Grimer. Grimer celebrated, and the goal umpire was going to call it a point, but Tony Day came in and said, no, I saw it off his boot, it's a goal.
I must say, in his defence, Tony Day, he was closer than we were, obviously, but we just didn't have a really fantastic camera angle on it. But you see here, as Moggy just said, 17 forward 50 entries to 3 in the last quarter. The Bays were just relentless, and in the end, they did manage to break open the game just enough to get this goal.
They did, and McConnell, he didn't waste any time. He certainly went back. He knew there was a fair bit of pressure on the clock. Went back, kicked the goal. You could see there the Glenelg players just started to celebrate, heard the siren. It's like, oh, yeah. It's a draw. It's over.
So, a draw at the Bay. It was a 20-point margin in favour of Centrals at quarter time, 22 at the half. They maintained that at three-quarter time, kicking into the breeze in the final quarter. They threw everything at the Bays in order to keep them down. But in the end, the Bays kicked on with 4 last quarter goals to 1 to level the scores at the 26.5-minute mark of the final quarter. It was just enough.
Certainly was, as you can see there, Glenelg 26 scoring shots to Central's 21. And if you have a look at the statistics, a huge discrepancy there inside 50s. Glenelg had plenty of the ball, 54 inside 50s compared to Central's 31, and that was the major difference. They just had a number of opportunities. Unfortunately, they didn't capitalise on them, but just through sheer weight of numbers, getting the ball inside 50, it gave themselves an opportunity to at least draw the game.
Absolutely, and the centre breaks just evening up at 10-9 in favour of the Doggies. Mostly it was centre breaks to the Tigers in that last quarter. Now we're going to go down to the rooms, to the Glenelg rooms in fact, but it's a closed door policy down there at the moment, Chris.
Yes, certainly is. Look, they've got the players behind closed doors at the moment. The mood down here is still pretty positive, Neil, I must admit. They were pretty happy to come back and at least get the point out of the win, but going to have a bit of a meeting down there and have a little bit of a chat about some of the things they could have done a little bit better in there. As you mentioned, McConnell, almost a hero, I suppose, towards the end. He at least got the point for them.
Were you close enough just when Mark Miggin was talking to his players when they come off the ground to hear what he was speaking about?
Yeah, it certainly was. Very much reinforcing the positives of it. I mean, at the end of the day, they don't take the win. They still do get the point out of it. And that was the point that he was really hammering home to them. They really have to take the positive sides out of this and not look towards the negatives out of it. The mood down here is actually pretty good.
Thanks for that, Chris. Mood in the Bays room's pretty good. They always love a party down here. We've known that for years, going way back to the Bay Disco even. But look, there was no 1975 49-goal feast for the Bays this afternoon, was there?
No, there certainly wasn't. And it'd be interesting having a look at the two coaches. One coach, I assume, would be pretty happy in terms of Micken and positive. Be interesting to see how Roy Laird reacts to this situation. Now, he's a seasoned coach. He's a very good coach. In actual fact, he's a brilliant coach if you have a look at his success ratio. But having said all of that, I reckon they'd be a bit disappointed with today's game because it was there for the winning.
I wouldn't envy, and I'm glad in the end we've chosen, even though it was 1,000 games for Central District, we've chosen to go to the Glenelg rooms because I wouldn't envy the person who has to try and interview Roy Laird this afternoon. I don't think he'd be too happy with his team, as you say. They probably let one slip. Look, Scott Dutchke, important though for the Bulldogs this afternoon. We talked about just how clever he is and his ability to shake off tacklers, and you called it as the core stability that he has, and he is capable of the burst play, and that was the goal of the day as we saw it this afternoon.
Well, he's finished the game with 7 kicks, 5 handballs, 1 mark, but more importantly 4 goals, and he's a quality player, can take a mark, but as you can see on that occasion, he's certainly clever on the ground as well.
4 goals this afternoon. Scott Dutchke does know all about stability because he's a carpenter by trade, so it has to be, you get where I'm going there.
Balance.
Yeah, I thought you got where I was going there. Okay, mark of the day. Rory Kirkby is the man who pulled down the mark of the day. He has the job generally of being the lead-up player, and on this occasion just showing those strong hands out in front.
Well, he's certainly under enormous pressure by Hayes, who has certainly improved as a player. Rory Kirkby's finished the game with 7 kicks, 5 marks, 6 handballs. Unfortunately, he didn't get a goal, and I think for Glenelg to win games against the better teams. Guys like Rory Kirkby and Todd Grimer need to kick at least a bag between them.
Yeah, well, Todd Grimer produced probably the most outstanding helicopter we've ever seen this afternoon.
It was indeed.
That was how ordinary his kicking was. Let's go back to Scott Dutchke. 7 kicks, 5 handles, a 12 possession afternoon, and just the one mark he's credited with. But we talked about the core stability. That was the perfect example of it. Just a shimmy of the hips and a shake, and away he went.
Great courage here as well. There's the mark that he was at. It went on the statistics. That was his second goal, but he was really camped underneath the ball and had to show great courage as a small forward, know where to get, run onto the ball. Got a nice shepherd there from O'Sullivan. This one here was from a boundary throw and just bubbled off the pack, dribbled the ball forward, gained clean possession, and then obviously finished with a nice goal.
Ed Sainsbury, look, at times I thought he was, again, one of these players who was going to break open the game this afternoon. He's a lot of experience with North Melbourne in the AFL, 40 games of experience, in fact, and he just almost delivered this afternoon. He threatened to do it.
He kept teasing us. He was a similar player. He came on about the 15-minute mark. He's finished the game with 3 marks, 8 kicks, 5 handballs, and finished with that goal there, as you can see on screen. But he certainly at times teased us. I thought he wasn't too bad. And he's playing on a quality player in Ben Mules.
Yeah, Benny Mules, actually, he ran him around a bit and made Mules accountable. And, of course, Mules' role normally, the skipper of the Bays, is to just play that overlapping role where he falls back in front of the full forward, etc. And, look, Braden O'Hara, another one very important to the setup of the Dogs. He's come into this side, and you'll see from his stats, 12 kicks, 1 handball. Gee, I wonder what he's good at.
He certainly is good at kicking the football. He's got a beautiful left foot kick. He reminds me of the Loney twins that played in the AFL and obviously at North Adelaide in the SANFL. He was fantastic today. He certainly had a lot of the ball on that left foot, 12 kicks in fact, and the Centrals players just like feeding him the ball. He's a thumping kick.
And absolutely, and he's again one of those players with the role. Bring it out of half back because he's the one who can spot up like he did there with Daniel Schell. And speaking of Daniel Schell, let's look at his afternoon this afternoon. And again, he's a player who was given some good opportunities, certainly in the first half. In the latter stages of the game, pretty much like everybody except, now who was it, Ryan Williams, who was standing down on the forward line with that man Ben Mules. Everybody else had gone into the back line, and Daniel Schell was no exception.
Daniel Schell's finished the game with 4 marks, 7 kicks, 1 handball and 2 goals. As a full forward, you want to at least kick a minimum of 2, preferably 3 for the game. So he's had an interesting game. I thought at times he was almost imposing himself on the game, but not at full pace at the moment, Daniel Schell.
And interesting to know, though, that Centrals have sent him forward again.
Yeah, well, I suppose he started his career as a forward. He went back. He finished up playing as a state player in the centre-half back. Now they've pushed him forward.
Wax and wane, why not? Look, difficult situation for the coaches this afternoon. You mentioned you probably, in fact, I know you've been in that situation with a draw. Mark Mickin is down in the rooms now with Chris Kendall.
It's certainly an unusual sort of one, Mark, but I suppose at the end of the day, you came back from a fair way back and you've still got the point out of it.
Yeah, we discussed that in the room just now. We feel that we had, plenty of the ball in the second half, especially a lot of inside 50s, and we just, I thought our skill level let us down, our goal kicking let us down. We had, I think, 5 or 6 more scoring shots, and we feel like it's probably one that got away, and that's balanced by understanding that we snatched a draw in the last kick of the day. So, our persistence and resilience was terrific, but, I felt that at times we just, turned the ball over too easily, and to Central's credit, they put on good pressure, but I think we could have done better in that area.
You mentioned at three-quarter time, you really wanted the guys to back themselves and just to take some risk, and they certainly did that. And it was good also for Justin McConnell to be the one to come up and get that point for you at the end.
Yeah, that's right. We wanted to sort of try and get a bit of quicker ball movement going away from stoppages and a bit of risk-taking out of the back line. And I thought our work in that area in the last quarter was very good. And I agree with Justin about Justin. He had a really good game, and to kick the crunch goal was, showed good mental strength.
Mark, Neil Cross upstairs. Look, I just want to touch on the stoppages and the clearances, which, obviously the Dogs work on very hard, and obviously so do you, but it just seemed like everything was just so crowded. I know Rob Pyman talked about it, so crowded this afternoon. What about the third man up? Did you consider that?
Yeah, we do look at that. As long as we don't mind that. I mean, if we're getting stoppages, repeat stoppages, we feel that as long as we win the next one, that's what we really count on. And Third man up is a thing that we entertain occasionally, but you've got to execute it properly. Sometimes you find a lot of teams go third man up and hit it straight to the opposition. So you've got to make sure you've practiced it, you know exactly what you're doing, and we do have a plan for that. But we felt that we started to get some momentum going in that second half, and we sort of went with what we knew.
Mark, Robert Pyman upstairs. You would expect that you would meet Centrals again in the finals at some point in time. Did you keep enough up your sleeve to perhaps have a shock tactic or something, a little bit of a secret weapon as such, moving into the finals?
Yeah, we probably, there's always those little change-up things you can do in a game, and every team's got some of those. But we really rely on the way we play, you know, our style of game, and what works for us. And yeah, we've got, I wouldn't call them, you know, shock tactics or tricks or anything. It's just little things that hopefully give you a little bit of an edge when you really need it. And you know, I'm sure Central got the same sort of thing in mind as well. But you know, I think we've got to rely on our core game, and that's what, you know, has got us to where we are at this stage. And hopefully that'll take us a little bit further.
Well, you only need 1 point more to beat them next time. Good luck, Mark, and thanks for your time this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks very much, fellas.
Mark Micken there. A draw this afternoon here at the Bay in round 17 of SANFL football. Norwood by 43 points over the Panthers. Sturt by 92 points over Port Adelaide. A real hammering handed out to the Magpies at Unley Oval this afternoon. And the Eagles, don't they have some great form at the Woodville Oval? A 17-point win over North Adelaide. As we move on to next week, North and Sturt now becomes a really interesting clash. And then Port and Central, West and the Panthers, Glenelg and Norwood. But the most important thing to take out of this afternoon, it was a draw. Thanks for your company. We'll see you next week.